All right, what up, everybody? Welcome back to Panel Focus. This is the official episode 1 of the Shonen Pulse podcast. I'm your host for today, Knox. I'm with my boy Yato.
Yo, yo.
I'm with Traffy,
Yo.
and I'm with the Greek Weeb.
What's up, everyone?
And we are coming together tonight to bring you our very first episode with our official review roster. And we are going to be covering 3 series from each of the magazines that we talked about in earlier episodes, which are Weekly Shonen Magazine, Jump Plus, and Weekly Shonen Jump. Those titles are Chainsaw Man, Centuria, Dandadan, Gachiakuta, Galaxias, Ranger Reject, Ichi the Witch, Astro Royale, and Kagurabachi. And we are so excited to finally start official coverage for all of these series. Before we get into it, though, of course, we want you to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure that you share, the episode to anybody that you think would be interested in what we're talking about if you find the content interesting. And make sure you check the description section if you want to skip around in the episode anywhere and only tune into the segments for the series that you're currently following so that you don't get spoiled. Of course, our socials are on screen if you're watching on YouTube, as far as Twitter and YouTube goes, but they'll also be down in the description section for you so that you can have a better record of that to reference at any time if you're, listening only or for audio. And yeah, let's get into coverage. Like, I'm super excited to actually just start going. I think we're gonna start with the Jump Plus segment of the episode. So we're going to be going into Chainsaw Man, then Centuria, then Dandadan today, and then after that we'll go into our Weekly Shonen Magazine segment, which will cover Gachiakuta, Galaxias, and Ranger this episode, and then we'll finish off with the Weekly Shonen Jump segment and cover Ichi the Witch, Astro Royale, and Kagurabachi to wrap things up with. But getting into Chainsaw Man, chapter 177, Trigger Finger. How are we feeling about that, boys?
Oh my god, there's
Oh, boy.
so much in this chapter.
Holy moly.
It was a big one, man. It's the return of the bang. We haven't seen a bang in a long time, and I got some thoughts about that. I seen a lot
World
of
War II flashbacks for me.
yeah, I saw a lot of tweets, and I got some different thoughts on from what I saw. So I'm gonna let y'all cook and see what y'all think first, and I'm gonna drop some thoughts.
Some might say it was a banger.
Bang,
The Statue of Liberty is a giant gun.
bruh.
Yeah, dude, what the fuck?
We can't forget the
The whole
return
thing at
of
the end.
Vamvaga.
Bamvaga dialogue,
return.
Oh my
dude.
Yeah.
god.
So that was the same dialogue from when he was at the burger place. Is he saying like hamburger again? Is that
Yeah, I
what's
think so,
happening?
right?
I think
just
that's-
Yes.
I think that's the only way he knows how to communicate, Pochita specifically. So he's obviously wants blood, but the only word he knows is hamburger.
right type shit.
I'm curious to see how it's gonna sound. The Black Chainsaw Man in the anime when we get to that part, and hopefully we get season 2 for that.
So I
It's gonna
actually
sound
didn't
insane.
even realize that there was a difference in color scheme from one Chainsaw Man to another. Maybe I knew at one point and just forgot or something. but
It's actually
apparently-
it's actually stated in the manga that there's a difference: red
Yeah.
Chainsaw Man, black
Yeah.
Chainsaw Man.
Yeah,
and
when
with
they
no
said
eyes.
when they said that here in part 2, I was like, oh shit, I didn't even. It
Yeah.
was surprising to me because I definitely didn't notice that or remember that from part 1 or whatever.
It's a little confusing because Fami mentions it to Yoru and Asen when they're talking about what to do with the Chainsaw Man situation, and she's telling Famine that she's telling War that the Chainsaw Man that you are trying to kill isn't the same one that you've been hunting. You want, I think it's the black. It's confusing. It's been a while, and with the bi-weekly sometimes chapters, and that happened a year ago. So I don't fully remember. So when this chapter came out, and mentioned the Black Chainsaw Man, I actually went and re-looked it up, and it was saying that Denji was, I think, the red one, and the Pochita armor was the black one. But I think that completely goes against what was said before, because remember there was a fake or clone or decoy Chainsaw Man, and I think that Fami was saying that was the other one, that Denji was one of them, and that other guy that we still don't know who the hell he was that popped up and saved Denji and Asa when they were in the food place, that was another Chainsaw Man. I thought she was saying that that's the one you want to kill, not Denji.
I think
So
I think I might have
Interesting.
I think I cracked the code on that one actually. So like the whole idea of them differentiating the Chainsaw Man is because one Yoru wanted to turn Chainsaw Man into a weapon, but if they turned regular Denji Chainsaw Man into a weapon, it wouldn't be as powerful, which is why they needed the black primal Chainsaw Man that was purely Pochita. And since they created that fake Chainsaw Man, that purpose was to make the Chainsaw Man Church get all those contracts, cause chaos, make people afraid of Chainsaw Man to make them more powerful. Same thing with war, in order so they could take out death. So the
Oh,
whole thing was just a sort of misdirect to try and
So
like eventually lead up to this moment.
okay.
At
So
least
but
that's how I think it went.
but there was still the other Chainsaw Man, like the main, like the other Chainsaw Man that appeared and saved Denji and Asa, and like he hasn't been accounted for. Like they haven't said like who that
That
was or that he's dead or anything.
Yeah, no, that is still a mystery that needs to be solved. And for all we know, that's going to be how this section ends with the fake Chainsaw Man showing up. For all we know, my thing is that they probably made this fake Chainsaw Man to help with like the Chainsaw Man Church and to also like help lead into the making Denji think he needs a normal life and then
Yeah,
taking all that away to make him go berserk
I think
as a
So-
there's
way to like
definitely
make him feel like he doesn't want to be Chainsaw Man anymore.
yeah.
So there's
Right.
a specification here. Red Chainsaw Man, when Dingy turns into his Chainsaw Man form, his head is red. But when Pochita takes
Yeah.
over, it's black. That is the only
Also, forearms.
different. Well,
and
I
no
mean,
eyes, I guess.
yeah, he goes
Yeah.
like full beast mode when Pochita takes over, but the color of the head changes, which is what they refer to as red and black.
Right.
So okay, that I mean that would make sense. It's just when Famine was explaining it, she made it seem like they were hunting the wrong guy. Like killing Denji isn't what you want to do. You want to kill this other guy. You protect Denji, and so it implied that the two, like Denji is like, let's say, the black Chainsaw Man, and this other guy is the red one. But now, like when I looked at, I haven't reread. I need to, but like when I looked up the wiki, it just spur of the moment because of this last chapter, they were saying that Dingy was one and the Pochita armor was the other. But I feel like that completely goes against what was said 30 chapters ago.
So
Oh,
this has
sure.
been a point that's been established since part one, with the whole ideology that Makima didn't care about Dingy. She only cared about Pochita. They are the same, but they're two separate entities. So Fami was basically saying that, but she wasn't giving Yoru the specific details of, hey, it's two people in one body.
It's
And
all for the long
I-
con, for the master plan.
And I also just like want to say how much I love that they established that delineation between, you know, Red Chainsaw Man and Black Chainsaw Man, because I had this like really awkward feeling, like which you know I'm sure was all a part of Fujimoto Tatsuki's plan to kind of like, you know, make the entire like dynamic and situation like feel like uneasy for the reader, because we know that, you know, Asa has feelings for Denji and vice versa, but then Yoru wants to destroy Chainsaw Man, and how is that going to work out, you know, dynamically between all of the characters involved. And they brought in that difference specifically to kind of, you know, it just feels genius that they're like, hey, you know, there's a way that you can both win. And when they established that, like in one of the earlier chapters, I was like, oh shit, okay, I feel better now. Like this all feels a lot better now, because I'm just like, dude, how is it going to happen if like one motivation is to kill a person and the other motivation is to like ride off into the sunset with them and live happily ever after? Like, who is going to, you know, to kind of like lose in the end? And now, you know, they're kind of giving us the hope that no one has to, which is just really cool to me.
Yeah.
The interesting
I think it was a really good idea. Yeah.
The interesting part about that is that the morality and the goals are all split, including that. But for the most part, I don't think there's any way to necessarily separate Dingy from Pochita. So to take out Chainsaw Man is to take out Dingy. And they keep kind of putting this distance in between Asa and Yoru, and they continued that within this chapter when Yoru states that children are the parents' property. And then Asa's reaction was like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're putting this gap between these two characters while Pochita and Dingy are getting closer.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that though is also Asa just kind of feeling kind of bad, because in the amount of time that she spent with Yoru, like they aren't always butting heads, and it's like she kind of, I think just by default will come to, like Yoru as a person and as an entity. So like to see that at first she was like, I didn't want to use, tank and gun because they're my comrades, and then to see her do it anyway and say like, these are my children and like I have to do it. Like it kind of felt like, like I can't believe she's like going through with this, and like I kind of feel bad because she's turned her children, her loved, things into these weapons and are using them as tools. But she also, we know that her goal is to get nukes back, which is another of her children. So it's like, is
Right.
she's using her two kids to get back another kid, hopefully. And the Asa thing is really interesting because it definitely shows that like the two characters have different things that they want, but they collide with each other. And so it's going to be interesting to see who gets what they want if either character ends up getting what they want.
Yeah, and just to kind of dovetail off of the point you made about like, them kind of like growing on each other, I think that that is a very interesting, idea to explore between these two characters that are kind of sharing a vessel. You know what I mean? One of them is this like ancient, evil that, is has hopped in the body of this high school girl, and they are both kind of like um meshing in a way to where like one is like adopting certain attributes of the other and like vice versa, because
Hmm.
like Yoru seems to kind of at least in a couple chapters ago with the whole like hand job scene or
Oh
whatever,
my god.
the like
People have a
Yoru.
meltdown over that.
Yeah, like Yoru is, like all of a sudden feeling certain things in the moment that like seemed like low key out of character for the Yoru that we like originally met in the beginning of part two, who like didn't really care about people and was just obsessed with their goal to destroy Chainsaw Man. And now because they share memories and feelings, now you have Yoru like, oh, okay, hold on, that kiss is making me do stuff right now, and I'm like kind of becoming a little bit more human after this time that I've kind of like spent in this body with this girl. And even on the Asa side of things, like she's becoming a little bit more ruthless in combat, and that could just be attributed to the experience that she has fighting so far. But I'm starting to feel a little bit of Yoru coming out of Asa, I want to say, in certain like moments and whatnot. So they're kind of like becoming close to like one thing, or as close
Yeah.
as they can possibly get to that, which I think is a really interesting, idea to explore, especially coming out of a series like Jujutsu Kaisen, where, Yuji and Sukuna were just like always like diametrically opposed, like, more morality wise and like character wise. And they never, at least from what I can remember, they never really gelled in that same way. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting
That
that
and
you have like,
Sukuna was just purposely being a dick.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And
Like, so there's similarities there, but there's also like really important differences between, these two concepts across series that I think is like
Yeah.
really interesting to think about. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yoru was also like there's the whole like if Asa dies, it's probably more of an issue for Yoru than it was for Sukuna if Yuji would die. So Asa would
Right.
lend her powers, and there was also like if Yoru's afraid, then Asa can't tap in. I mean, other way around. If Asa's afraid, then Yoru can't tap in. And so I just kind of felt like back in a couple 30 or so chapters ago that it seemed like Asa was in a place where she just ended up doing what she knew she had to do, and Yoru, the thing that Asa had to do also just aligned with what Yoru was going for. I
Hmm.
kind of felt like the goal for them was to put Denji and Asa like head to head to collide with each other, because they had the whole like Asa's taking down this devil, and everything seemed like they were trying to put the two against each other.
Yeah.
And now
And we're
we
kind of
ended up
getting that
here.
now.
Yeah, we're here now, and all of that's coming more to a head. I mean, obviously they're fighting now, but yeah, this chapter we see the return of the gauntlets, the bang, and it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It
She's
is crazy.
she's
I
blowing
think
Chainsaw back.
I
And
think
shout
the
out to Fujimoto Tatsuki for just like maintaining this like wildly interesting and creative but esoteric at the same time power system with how these devil contracts work, and like just the explanations for why things happen the way they do, energy system wise, like in this series, like with the whole like, oh, okay, I'm activating a certain area of this power, and this is like, the result of things like 400,000 of the National Pistol Association of America's 3.5 million members lose their index fingers in order for this power to kind of be invoked. And it's just like, that's so
He,
fucking
he,
crazy and
he
cool.
really took his time building up to these chapters just so we can pull the trigger on everything.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
hey, no pun intended.
there's no rules for the power
Yeah.
system,
But
somehow
Fujimoto
it
Tatsuki
works.
knows them. Yeah, like you can tell he just lives in this weird little fucking scary, crazy world that he's created, and everything makes sense to him, even if he has like a pretty vague and esoteric way of presenting it to the audience. There's like a certain like consistency inside of all of it that lets you know that it makes sense, like, you know, structurally, and that's just so crazy.
Even down to the different methods of activation, like every like high, they're like Denji has his ripcord, and then you know the flamethrower person, they like click their teeth. But in this chapter, you know, whatever Yoru is doing, and she like pulls her finger and it like triggers this Statue of Liberty to crack, and it's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah,
And that's the sense you get from every time a power is used. Like, you go back to part 1 and the introduction of Makima using her power where people are just getting squished. It's not her power, but it's like, what? How does this happen? Where does this come from, and why does it just work?
Yeah, it just works.
That's
like,
still never been explained.
There's no, like, you know, Yoshihiro Togashi style overarching narration that constantly breaks down like how things connect and why things work logically, but like you can just tell it makes sense to Fujimoto, and it brings a level of verisimilitude to this like wildly esoteric like story and system anyway, and that's just so fucking cool to me.
It never breaks immersion. The characters are never like, how the fuck does this work? Like, the characters know how their powers work. We don't like ever get like a, you know, Denji pulls his ripcord and that causes the chainsaws to fly out of his body, driving him into a frenzy, and if he drinks blood, you never get that like breakdown. People do their powers, and they know how their powers work, and we just see how they work. It like we're never told, we just watch it.
We could piece it together if we really wanted to fine tooth comb the series and put it under a microscope and really try to get into the head of this weird ass author, but like it's not necessary, you know, for that narration to exist because it's just so well presented.
Though the thing I also kind of like is that, like you said, we don't need like a full on just breakdown because everybody just knows how their powers work. And I'm just glad that the community at large is just like, I see that working. I see that. I can see that working because
you're giving the community
I know for a fact there are so many fandoms that unless a power is just fully broken down and explained, they're like, this makes no goddamn sense. How does this work?
Where is it going? This is all over the place.
I think the thing is
some powers just don't need some like 4D level chess breakdown or to break down literal concepts of physics.
I think a lot of the problem is like the people that do really go and have those like long, like, I don't going on. Those are people who actually aren't like fans of the series. They're just reading it because their friends are reading it, and it's the thing that everybody's talking about on Twitter. So people that are like, I have no idea what's going on in this arc, is like, okay, you probably haven't had an idea. You read 98 chapters in today. Like, of course you don't know.
The reading devil strikes again.
And it seems like there's like a shared like surface level like critique blanket in some, especially in a discussion space like anime Twitter, where like
it's always with battle shonen.
Anime Twitter has like decided like what's good and what's not good, and if like these series, no matter how different they are, or you know whatever, like come out and they start, you know, addressing certain things in their story, if it doesn't align with that like very surface level, you know, understanding of how storytelling works, that seems to be kind of like shared throughout like the greater, you know, space of anime Twitter. It's just easy for people to slander things and like push agendas, like, you know,
and no one will,
or against things. It's like, oh, it's working the way that I understand and the way that I want it to. It's good. It's working the way that I don't understand or might take a little bit more reading into to really get. It's not good. You know what I mean? It seems like there's just like kind of like a shared like ignorance and Dunning-Kruger effect. Like,
it's definitely a back and forth where like one week it's the worst thing anyone's ever read, and then like next week you don't get people talking about it because like nothing's like bad, you know, quote unquote bad happened, but then like something really cool happens and it's like, wow, Chainsaw Man best new gen, and it's like, okay, what, you gotta pick a side, bro. Like, is it the worst thing you've ever read, or like do you not read anything? Like, I don't know.
That is the only real issue when it comes to something coming out week to week, or some cases bi-weekly, because like you get the instant reaction And then sometimes when people will sit on it, they'll be like, "It's not as bad," or or it's worse. Then when something else comes on, gives extra context to it, you're like, "Oh, okay, I overreacted to this."
Yeah.
But then it
See-
just keeps repeating over and over because we
Yeah.
just have based off of that one section. I've been in that mentality like, "Oh, this chapter is not that good." Then the next chapter comes out, makes you recontextualize, and I'm like, "Okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was."
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we can't really give full thoughts on something until we like go back and revisit it.
Yeah,
So-
it's
That tends to be how it is with everything. But now, a lot
So
of the
let's,
times, not many people end up going back and revisiting stuff. They're just like, okay, go through this once. That's it. That's my
Yeah.
opinion. I'm gonna
So-
move on.
they're doing
So let's,
anything that's familiar to me and it's hype. I get to go push an agenda saying this character is GOAT. Like, oh, it's doing things I'm not familiar with, so this is awkward and weird, and
Let's-
I get to go make a tweet slandering it and get a bunch of likes for being funny.
let's take the shovel out of social media and dig
Yeah,
back
my
into the
bad, my
chapter
bad, my
though.
bad. Yeah, no,
Not
you're
just
right,
you. I
you're
mean,
right,
we
you're
all
right.
jumped in, but just my I had some interesting. I mean, it's my thoughts. Of course, I'm gonna think it's interesting, but so. There's the whole like jumping back into the chapter. We have like Denji or Pochita getting blasted, and like he's trying to guard these like gunshots. First thing, has any of this been tank related? Like everything we've seen so far has been like
Nope,
gun.
just
We
gun.
saw, yeah, we've just
Just
seen
gun.
gun. Where's the tank? When's the tank stuff coming? I'm waiting for the tank stuff, but like,
Yeah, I think it's by
Pochita-
arms, right? So did she ever use
Yeah.
her left arm to make an attack? Because if she's
Some
only
has
people
ever
are
used her right
theorizing that the
arm-
tank might be more of a defensive measure instead of a plain offensive. Like,
that'd be cool.
for all we
I
know.
could see that.
That'd be
too.
I can
cool. Like
see that.
sword, like
Yeah.
a sword and shield type deal.
Yeah,
So
because
even-
like guns and tanks can kind of operate like kind of similarly too, because tanks have like fucking guns on them with barrels
Yeah.
and whatnot. So she could be shooting like a regular bullet shot in one attack, but then shooting the fucking tank version of that bullet shot in another attack. But I think it is based on the arms, and she only ever used her right arm.
So
it's
I
probably
wonder-
all one
Yeah.
thing.
I wonder if
That's
there'll be a
something I
different
was
word.
curious about.
I wonder if there
yeah.
will be a different word when she uses tank, and also like just Pochita's just already having trouble.
boom.
Like he can't, yeah, maybe boom. Like he can't block the gunshots. Like he's just already getting thrown back. But even then, like she, it bring back to the last time actually me and you Knox we talked about Chainsaw Man like 2 years ago when it came back, and I had this thought. So Yoru is egging him on, and she's like, remember me. I bet this, does the pain remind you? Does it make you tremble? Does your stomach rumble with desire? Come and fight me. She's taunting Chainsaw Man, and Makima did the exact same thing. And what does he do? He runs away. Like he refuses to eat them. He has no problem eating any other devil. Pochita is on screen and there's another devil. They are getting gobbled up and a concept is being removed. But Makima complained and even whined or cried. She said, "You've killed me 26 times. Why haven't you eaten me?" He's killed. He can easily kill Yoru. There's
Yeah.
that, but he refuses to. When she says, "Fight me," he leaves. He runs. He doesn't want to kill them. And I think it's because he loves them and just doesn't want a world without those specific horseman concepts.
Oh,
So-
interesting. So yeah, it's interesting that you think it's because he has this like affection for, war or control, from part one when he was fighting Makima, and like whenever Makima started taunting him, he just kind of ran away because he didn't want to gobble her up for like love reasons or affection reasons or whatnot. I just figured that it was like a little bit more immature and like childish than that, because like Pochita is obviously not like this wildly intellectual humanoid like brain kind of like thing. It's like kind of like a little just angry demon thing, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
it felt a little bit to me like it was like kind of like reverse psychology. Like if you tell me to do something, I'm not going to do it. If you tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it. Like kind of like situation.
Pochita also did have that moment though at the end of Chainsaw Man Part 1 where it was talking to Denji and it was like all the control
Oh,
devil ever
true.
really wanted was to feel, loved on an equal level or whatever without
Yeah.
like feeling like she was in control of people. So I think there's
Yeah, no,
there's
you're
some
right, you're right. There's a little
yeah.
bit more there than I remembered. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like and Pochita like clearly has no problem eating any other devils. We lost foot, head, eye, ear disease. We lost all these devils, hail, all these other devils. But like the thing was like, Yoru wants to reclaim nukes because he ate nukes, and like I was saying, last time was I think that he ate nukes as a way to disarm her, like swat, like get out of here, like she's like your little brother's like he's playing with like a an action figure and he's like smacking it against your leg, you don't like throw your little brother down the stairs. You just take the action figure and sit it on top of the refrigerator where he can't get it. So I felt like that was what he did with nukes. He ate nukes and it's like, okay, you can stop shooting nukes at me now, but like I love you. And, you know, I'm also not going to eat control or death, because they were all fighting him and they were like, where did you go? Like when they fought Vegeta the first time, they were like, you just disappeared while we were fighting. Where the hell did you go? And like he was on Earth. He got mixed in with Denji. And it's just.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot better than what I said.
Because they're like, why won't you eat me? Like she's like, aren't you know, come fight me now. Come on, eat me. I bet you would eat me. And Baki was like, bro, you killed me 26 times. Why won't you eat me? About that, she even said like, am I not appetizing? Like something is clearly there.
For sure.
We find out Pochita was their parent.
Bruh.
Oh, fuck.
And maybe they don't know, like, I'm your daddy. So,
nah.
But let's talk about the Statue of Liberty, because I've seen a lot of theories going around, but yeah.
So what you think, Trav?
You know, my favorite one, which is not based in any kind of reality, is that we're gonna get a Statue of Liberty mech.
Bruh.
But that's just the mecha fan in me,
dude.
Bruh. Mechs and Chainsaw Man would be nuts.
But
That
no,
would be fucking crazy. I think that there is something that's going to happen, like mechanically, like with the Statue of Liberty. Now that you bring up like the whole like mech idea, I don't know if it's gonna get up and start walking around, or if like the outer shell is going to like, you know, shatter and reveal some kind of like crazy Liberty Devil or something underneath there. But like, because originally, like I'm looking at this as just like a further, I don't know, there's something about Chainsaw Man that I just like love as far as its like critique on like America and, you know, like just, you know, how obsessed we are with guns. And I'm just like a really big fan of like Manipian satire, so like I just saw it like as like symbolism and didn't really like, you know, read too much farther into it. But I think you're right. I think that there is something crazy that's going to happen with that mechanically.
so
A giant Gatling gun.
More realistically, since she's calling upon the Gun Devil, I feel like we're going to get a return to form out of the Statue of Liberty for the Gun Devil.
Oh, yeah.
So just giant, monstrous demon with a bunch of guns pops out of the Statue of Liberty.
Yo, what if it is the re-resurrection complete form, you know, Gun Devil? Because last time we only saw like the Gun Devil at like 30%. Like what if this is like 80% Gun Devil?
God,
yeah,
that would just be
right.
like
That was just the
so
American
good.
portion.
Yeah, like especially like with what I was just talking about with like, you know, critique on America and symbolism. Like if inside of the Statue of Liberty was the final form of the Gun Devil, that would just be so like chef's kiss for that satire. Oh my god, I actually need that.
The first thing I thought of when I saw the Statue of Liberty, like when I saw it crack, the first thing I thought of was just like a missile silo, like in every movie or something when it's like you press the launch codes, you know, they press the button and then like a hatch opens up and a missile just flies out of it. I just thought like the head's gonna pop off and like a missile's gonna launch out and fly at Denji or something. Maybe he'll jump in the air and cut it or some shit. But like my first thought was like something's gonna fly out of here. Maybe it's the tank version or something. But like something's gonna fly out. I saw some people saying they think the Bomb Devil would be in there, and I don't think that's gonna happen.
Like, why would she
gotta be
form
guns,
a
bruh.
contract with the NRA members for, you know, like a Bomb Devil or even the tank to pop out?
Yeah, that's what's really making it hard, because it's like because a missile would be like nukes, but like he ate the nuke devil, so it's not missiles and it's not tank, because like why would she sacrifice gun members, you know, fingers for a tank ability? So it's like what the hell? It's got to be a giant Gatling gun, like a big ass.
Yeah, didn't Weeb say that?
Yeah, he just said that. Yeah, just a big ass fucking like space sized minigun that she just walks Pochita down with you. But like he's gone, so like she can't even, like he's not even in the area. It's like a heat seeking bullet because he bounced.
So I think that actually kind of reinforces the revival of the Gun Devil, because remember, the Gun Devil didn't need to see people. It could just attack a widespread area. So if she's doing that, she's trying to either kill him while she can't see him, or, you know, lure him out with it.
Aki 47, Part 2.
Bruh.
Yo. It's just Aki in there. Like, what up? I'm back, nigga.
That'd be nuts. Yeah. It's like my poor.
Yeah. We're gonna find out soon what's going on with the Statue of Liberty, unless Fujimoto decides to troll us and is like, okay, we're gonna see a bit more of the Statue of Liberty cracking, then we're gonna cut to just Denji doing Denji stuff as Chainsaw Man until the end of the chapter, where we either get teased a bit more with it or get the actual reveal, or just cut to somebody else.
It's gonna the
For
next
the
chapter
remainder
is
of the
just,
chapter.
next chapter is gonna be a Dandadan chapter. It's just gonna be Okaroon and Momo in school. They're gonna hear about like the Statue of Liberty breaking and be like, oh, I guess we gotta go see what this is about. Some shit.
Yo,
we'll
big
find-
crossover shit,
We need a
dude?
crossover. We need a crossover.
Oh man, maybe we'll get Kishibe back in the story at some
Dude,
point.
I've been wondering where the fuck
Yeah,
that
I
guy
got it.
is.
That
Bro.
man's on a beach drinking and smoking.
Fuck that.
Why
This is
just
Chainsaw
retired?
Man universe, bro. You don't get to sit mojitos on the
He
beach for that long
retired.
in this. Nah,
It
hell
would-
no.
It would be crazy if he if next chapter opens up with Yoru like figure it aired. They're like you just see a slit go across her throat. This Kishibe, he just cut her throat, dropped her on the ground. Yeah.
That would be ice water.
But
I would literally be so here for that. Oh my god.
That'd be crazy. But I think we kind of went over basically everything for the chapter so far, and we literally just recapped all our theories for part 2 in general at this point.
Low key.
I do got one more thing I want to say.
Shoot.
So with the blood thing, when he goes to the blood drive and he takes the sign and it says give blood, the first thing that I thought of was, I mean, obviously, power. I think the bangs,
Owie.
all the bangs reminded him of seeing Power's death, and it's like, yo, give me my buddy back, yo, bring Power here, yo. He runs to the blood drive and he's like, give blood devil, give blood.
The way I didn't even think about that until right now. This is why I love discussion spaces like this, because holy
Yeah.
shit, that's gotta be exactly what's going through this mind right now.
It's
See,
probably
that-
just like feed me blood so I can heal
Yeah,
really
Nah,
fast.
fuck
that's what I was
fuck
thinking
that.
about.
It's hell no, it's power. Bro. And if it's not about power, I'm dropping this garbage. No, I'm kidding.
He just got shot and took a bunch of damage. He's definitely just trying to heal back up.
Yeah,
And the last time this happened, Power saved his ass.
Yeah. I don't know. Realistically, it's helped me heal, but I don't know, man. It's just
No,
like,
man, there's too much there. Give
Yeah,
blood,
it's
the
there.
bangs. No, dude, you're
bangs, bro.
you're on to something.
people listening to this are gonna read the chapter in 30 minutes and be like, "Yep, he won on shit."
Yeah, because the chapter comes out in hours or something at the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
of this recording. Fuck, bro.
Yeah. We're recording it before, so if we were right about anything and you hear this after the chapters come out, we were right before the chapter came out.
At least just
right.
let it be a giant, sick Gatling gun.
We don't
Yeah.
got spoilers for Chainsaw Man yet, so y'all can't even try that shit with us.
Yeah,
It's digital, so we ain't getting spoilers.
yeah, we good.
Yeah,
That's
shit,
good.
shit.
So,
Yeah.
want to move on to Centuria?
Well, Traffy, do you got anything left for Chainsaw Man?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, I think I'm good too. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
well,
good.
that'll do it for Chainsaw Man chapter 177. All right, moving into Centuria chapter 24, Trump Card. Yato, how'd you feel about this chapter, bro?
I like the chapter. It started off, with the whole beheading and blood shooting out of dude man's, upper body. I forget his name. I don't know if we got his name, but
Arcos, I think.
Arcos, yeah, that
I
you might
think
be
I
right.
forgot that too. Shit.
Yeah,
I literally
there's gonna
read it
be
the
a
other day.
there's gonna be a lot of forgetting names in this show because it's all a lot of new stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I it was a cool chapter. Yeah, I still what is it, like the third page? I still hate this one drawing of Engval where her eyeball looks very weird. If you go to page 3,
Yeah.
in that middle section, on the right, her eye, the drawing just does not look good. Like every other time, I think the
Yeah.
art in this series is good, except for that drawing, and I think that the characters' hands are drawn very large. Other than that,
Yeah.
Icy, good
Ever
chapter.
since you brought up the weird eye thing, I think I saw a tweet of yours or something like that that brought it out, and I can't unsee it now. It's giving Sid the Sloth from Ice Age. Low-key.
Yeah, it's it just that eye doesn't. There should have been the other eye drawn, or it just that eye should be more to the right or something. It just looks
something like
weird.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of snaily. Anyway,
So,
but yeah, go ahead, Traffy.
Just to clarify, I did enjoy the chapter overall, but since we're talking critiques, I the mixture of last chapter and this chapter, you know, he gets revived at the cost of one of the 100 souls. But didn't he die at the very beginning as well?
Yeah, but I think that was more so to like kind of like activate the system in general for his character is kind of like how I kind of like went with that. Is like you have to die first to like get the power, and then every death after that will take you know will reduce the one from the 100 or whatever
Okay.
is kind
I
of
didn't.
how
I didn't even think about it. So, like with the way you saw it, Traffy, were you thinking he only has like 98 left himself
Yeah.
and the guy he just lost? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But because I thought about that too. I was like, I immediately was like, bro, he already died once. So how is he only at 99? But I think that like
Oh.
the way that it kind of like would go mechanically is like, yeah, you die in the first chapter, and then you know this Lovecraftian, you know, entity kind of like revives you with this 100 limit.
Yeah, yeah. Like
No,
his
yeah,
is already
so-
gone, and then he was
yeah.
given 100.
So he started with like 101, he lost himself, and now he's going through the last 100.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a good way to say it. I like
Yeah.
that. Fuck yeah,
yeah.
dude.
101 makes sense.
Cool. What I really loved about this chapter is, you know, I'm like, I think we're all really big power system guys, but just
Yeah.
like what really gets me, you know, is the creativity, you know, as far as because like both of these powers, you know, with God, what's the main character's name again?
Julian.
Julian. Yeah, the like Julian's power and Arcos's power is relatively straightforward, but like there is just like a certain level of depth, you know, that goes into the writing that, you know, forces these really creative situations out of these like, you know, on paper pretty simple, you know, abilities. And that's something that I really love Japan for, you know, on a storytelling level is that like as a really big like Western comic, like superhero comic, like fan, you have these like powers that just do not have these like big rule systems involved with them. And it's just like I have super strength, so big punch. I have fire, so fireball. You know what I mean? Is you know, and it gets more, you know, complicated in that in certain stories, but like by and large, you know, it doesn't seem like, you know, the powers are as thought out as, you know, what you typically see in like Battle Shonen, for example. It feels like they'll get that same idea as like, you know, an Incredible Hulk or, you know, a Iceman, you know, from X-Men or something like that. But then like the thought web, you know, that kind of comes from that and what all of the applications of those abilities are that like come into mind when you're writing a superpower, you know, whereas the West might take like, you know, a very simplified approach to that to like only grab the most important aspects of it and bake it into, you know, the storytelling in a very straightforward way. It feels like Japanese writers take all of those sprawling thoughts and do their best to incorporate every single one into the action, like at any point in time. And it's like, okay, yes, I have blood manipulation, and this is what it looks like in like 150 different situations, and I'm
Right.
gonna find a way to write them all into my story. You know what I mean? It just feels like there's so much more depth there, you know, across the board, and we're seeing that like, you know, in proper fashion in Centuria as well as a lot of other stories. But we're here for Centuria now. But I just
Yeah.
really love like the way that they explain, you know, all of these strategic applications of these powers throughout the fight.
Yeah, like
I'm so happy.
they could have just said he's keeping himself alive with the water manipulation with the blood in his body, but they don't do that. They go into severe detail about all of the things he has to think about while he's fighting in order to keep himself alive. And it raises the stakes of the overall fight, which concludes with them both just thinking, how is the other person still alive?
Right. And it creates that like what will happen next like effect that just keeps you turning the page when they go that in depth with how, you know, things kind of like work mechanically, you know, in really big concept things and really small concept things. Like everything just feels considered, and it makes you go like, holy shit, how are they going to apply this next? I need to keep reading. You know,
That 2-page spread of just the rain and how it's
Yeah.
depicted like it just stopped once you
Yeah.
just
and then
use it
turn
to
to
just
bullets.
Oh my god! You
Yeah.
see that 2-page spread just looked beautiful. It looked great. I loved
Yeah.
it.
It was so good.
Stole the
contrast, yeah, all of that shit is just firing on all cylinders in this spread.
So
I also really like how so far in these fights, and right now, Julian's first fight against somebody with similar abilities to him in a sense, where this guy's very long range and can basically keep himself alive by circulating his own blood. against Julian, who's more of just like a straight up brawler, trying to use smoke to obscure his opponent's vision to
So-
sneak up behind them, and the fact that if he does end up dying, he can use up his lives to fully regenerate. And now his opponent knows that he can somehow regenerate, but it has to be potentially like near death, because he figured since he basically dealt him a killing blow, if he could just use his blood manipulation to close Julian's wounds after giving mortal wounds to him, he won't be able to regenerate, and it won't be a threat to him. And that back and forth, I kind of like stuff like that when they're trying to like figure out how to take each other out.
It's always interesting to see how people deal with characters that they assume or know to be immortal. Like he's looking at this guy and he's like, I cut his arms off and his legs or whatever and his head. It's like, this dude, he's back. So like I gotta figure out how to like not make him back. Like if he's gonna regenerate, like I need to stop him. You know, like you said, maybe it's just mortal wounds. So, like, if I just rip off his finger, is he going to grow that finger back? Or is it only like, if I cut off his arm, he's definitely going to grow that arm back? And it's funny to see that both of these guys, it's almost like they can't see the marks on each other's faces because they're both surprised. Like, how the hell is he still alive? It's like, bro, you got like a crazy ass power, and so does he. You can't like see that? Like,
Right.
It could be like a more so like for an audience perspective on us, just to see that they're using their abilities.
yeah.
And examples like this is an entirely different series, but like how in Oshinoko, Aqua and Ruby have the stars in their eyes, but nobody else notices the very obvious stars in their eyes. Those are more so visual representations of themselves as characters and stuff like that, which is why the change in color and appear and disappear depending on their mental and emotional states.
I feel like these characters here can see it though, and it also kind of like goes back to like JJK did it too, where people were like, "Can everyone see Sukuna's tattoos?" And it's like, I think so, but like, you know, Angel got fooled by the Megami Sukuna tattoo thing, so it's like, I think in this case everyone can see the eye tattoo or scar or whatever, but like maybe it's because it's dark here in the forest. And like they're running, there's this rain. Maybe they just can't see it, and you know, I'm
That
just
could be it.
being too hard on the characters. But you know, it's interesting that this dude is able to, you know, put himself back together if he just kind of imagines his body as a sack of water, even though it's spinal. His back is broken. It's like, bro, like how are you?
I think he said he won't be able to last that long, like he is. He has to be like this.
He's got to go get surgery after this.
He has to get healed in some way, shape, or form before he literally kicks the bucket, because he's just trying to. If he maintains his concentration, if he breaks it, then yeah, he dead.
If I was in that situation, I would have just, because Julia was literally about to go cop a taco, yo. I would have just let dude walk off and like healed myself. Why get back up and fight? It's like, bro, fuck the pride. I'm gonna come kill him later. Like when he's chilling, bro. Yeah, that's some psycho shit, bro. My spine is broken.
My question, because it's not pointed at, besides the fact that it's being used, but where's this smokescreen coming from?
His skin.
This is just an ability that he just learned how to do. How does that relate
He's
to
used
the
it before, I
sea?
think.
Yeah, I think he did it before. I think it's
one of the first abilities he's ever used.
Like my thing was,
I don't even remember that.
I think he definitely. I was always like kind of like equated it to like ink or whatever, because it was like a squid Cthulhu type monster. So
there
like,
it is.
So like a gas, like ink turned into like a gas or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. And like just to kind of dovetail off that, at the end of the chapter, when he jumps off the cliff and towards the water, you know, I'm reading, I'm like, you fool, that's his fucking domain. But then, you know, the superimposed like text, you know, on the bottom of the last page, like who will win the ocean's favor or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, because like this nigga's power basically comes from like Dagon or Cthulhu or some shit. So like he fucked with the water too. So it's
like this dude
got
is
the blessing of like whatever that water creature is.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's so cool. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like this overconfident waterbender versus Cthulhu. It's like, come on, bro, I'm a god of water, dog. Like,
Well, see, that's the thing, is that this dude doesn't know where his power, Julian's power comes from. So he thinks he has the advantage in the sea.
Yeah.
And then we've been given nothing but information to say the opposite. Like, of course, you know, ocean octopus Cthulhu creature gives him the power. And then when he was fishing in a previous chapter, you know, all the fish were just jumping into his net because he's blessed by the sea. This
Right.
Arco
Yeah.
dude doesn't know that. He's just like, oh, water, that's all me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
So
just-
it's like the dynamic is like, oh, I can manipulate this element, whereas Julian is like, I am this element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's about to get swallowed up, and he's like, "Bro, what? But water is my shit. Like,
Yeah.
I got all these water guns, but like, what,
Oh,
what
that's
do you
gonna be
mean?"
so cathartic too next chapter, dude. I cannot fucking wait for that.
Sea monsters eating the bitch.
Yo,
Yeah.
wait
He
a
needs it.
minute.
We gotta get it,
Bro, if a
And then-
giant fucking orca just pulls up and chomps this nigga for Julian, I'm going to do a backflip and start
This is
screaming.
Aquaman.
Yeah, bro. Because none of his nothing that we have actually seen him do like in his fighting style has shown any sort of like relation to ocean. So it's like this dude Arcos has no clue what the fuck. He just thinks that he's fighting a strong, basically Andy from Undead Unluck. He's just
Yeah.
fighting an undead musclehead. He's
Yeah.
like, bro, what do you mean the ocean bends to your will? I control water, bitch. Why am I getting
Yeah,
attacked?
This isn't fair. I need him
my
to start.
power.
I need him to start crying. I need him to like, bro, his death and his defeat needs to be so painful and so satisfying. Like, I need him to like have like a whole existential crisis and start bleeding from his eyeballs before he dies or some shit. Like,
Nah, I agree
So-
with it.
So he does still have something though, because like I noticed the weird thing was like he mentioned like he was like, I gotta take this guy out no matter what. I'll even have to use my trump card. And at first when I read it, I was like, the trump card was the rain. But when it starts raining, he gets surprised. So he's like mentioning using his trump card, but then when it starts pouring, he's like, oh, well shit, I got all this rain. I got unlimited ammo. So like the rain wasn't
Yeah.
his trump card. There was something else he was planning to do too.
nah, the trump card is Julian jumping into the fucking ocean, bro. Like,
Bruh.
that's like the you know, the bait and switch. That's the red herring for, because it's Julian's trump card that we're about to see next chapter.
Bruh. There was like Traffy was saying earlier, like we don't like the power is explained. I like how Arcos is like we get Arcos' point of view. It's not like a narrator saying like he holds his spine. Like when that stuff is explained, it's Arcos thinking it to himself. Like I'm gonna put my head back on my body, and as long as I think about it, it's not like, you know, narration giving us that explanation, but it's actually
Right.
his thought process, and I thought that was cool.
And just that line of dialogue is like so important too, because it just shows such a thorough consideration for the narrative at hand when you choose to put in, you know, writing that says like, okay, I can reconstitute myself based on my power, but not in this specific way that's actually really important, but like doesn't really mean anything in the moment. Like, sure, I can bring myself back together with my blood manipulation if I just picture myself as like, you know, a sack of water and then my head goes back on my shoulders. But to go out of your way to say, but my spine is still severed and that's still a problem for me, I feel like is something that, you know, a lesser writer might like just not consider or not put into the writing, and he would just be regenerated, you know,
Yeah.
back to, you know, a good point without ever bringing something like that up. So that just shows like, you know, how much this author lives in this world and considers everything that actually matters in the conflict at hand. And I just love noticing shit like that. I just love when writers do that.
I am ready to see where we go after this. Like, I'm hoping that this fight is concluded the next chapter, because I feel like we kind of watched Engvall get beat the hell out of for like 5 chapters in a row, and I was kind of starting to get. I'm not tired. You know, I don't think that there's anything wrong with the series, but I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, like Engvall, like we've seen her die and get back up and die and get back up like 3 times, and now she's like officially cooked. I'm pretty sure, but like I want to see. I want to move on and, you know, see what is going on with Diane and TT, and like this prophecy shit is kind of crazy. I want to see what the hell is going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
What
It's
is with
equivalent
the
of like if Guts was essentially raising a baby Griffith, not even fully realizing that he might end up just causing the eclipse.
I mean, shit, he low-key was. Spoiler. Oops.
Yeah.
It could get crazy if you know, the whole Diane thing actually does become, you know, this evil, you know, king killer or whatever. I'm here for it, because that shit look dope.
Yeah, I need to see if that's going to come to fruition,
Yeah.
or if they're going to kind of like break the chains of fate or whatever that dialogue is from Jujutsu
Yeah.
Kaisen that I'm applying to here. But yeah, like that's a good point. That prophecy is a big deal.
I feel
More
like it's a pretty standard trope, but I feel like they're forcing the prophecy by trying to end it, so they're becoming enemies of Diane, And at
sure.
some point in time, you know, they'll take out someone that Diane cares about, and then Diane will be like, okay, the king has to go. This is bad. So
That would be some good irony. I
Yeah,
like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they don't realize it, but maybe what if like the chick that came and told the prophecy isn't truly like on the side of the king? Maybe it was like a ruse, and it's like she knows that by like pushing Julian and them that it will lead to Diane becoming this evil character. It's like, I don't know, like you said, forcing that, but like it seems like they are going on the path of forcing this prophecy to happen, you know, without realizing it. But what if they do, and like their goal is to make the prophecy happen?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
Either way, we got to see that prophecy. I need grown Diane on murder spree.
Yeah, no.
Let
for
me see
sure,
that
for
demon
sure.
goat creature come out.
Yeah.
On God.
Yeah.
I think that is all I had for Centuria. Greek, you got anything else for Centuria this week?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, the
Art was
chapter
great as
went by
always.
in a flash.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I finished it in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was like, wait, no, that can't be. All right,
It was,
Chappie,
it
you
was
got
a
anything else?
fight chapter, but no,
For
I
sure,
don't
for
have
sure.
anything.
Okay, Yato.
Yeah, the bullets were cool. Obviously, shoots through the smoke screen. I was like, yeah, that's gonna happen. But yeah, other than that, I'm cooked.
All right, bet. Well, that will do it for Centuria, chapter 24. All right, moving into Dandadan, chapter 167. Hey, there's something there. Greek, how'd you feel about this one?
I liked it. It was another a good like more or less kind of like a setup chapter for this ongoing like arc, maybe saga for like figuring out how to get Momo back to normal. Just seeing how everyone's dealing with all this, and also how literally the majority of this chapter was just Okura realizing, oh shit, being exposed to Turbo Granny's powers for so long and then being in all these leveraged situations, I'm a 5-star athlete all of a sudden.
Yeah, he's like, wait,
Yeah.
I'm that nigga.
Bro, I was so proud, bro. I was like
Same.
screaming,
He's-
dog.
His
It makes
physical
so
strength
much
at this
sense.
point,
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not as strong as how he is with like Turbo Granny, obviously, but
Yeah.
with the enhanced speed and strength he has right now, he's definitely not a liability like people were afraid of.
Right,
Now
and
it's up
that's
to him
going
to
to
figure out how to
be-
utilize
Yeah.
his spirit energy.
Yeah, that's going to be important later. Maybe he like develops his own, power set just off of the exposure to Turbo Granny. Even now that the spiritual power has left him, there might
Yeah.
be like certain residuals that get activated in like times of duress or something like that we might see later. But either way, the nigga got hands himself. Either way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like we're gonna see some shit for that regardless. So
Maybe it'll.
I'm calling
maybe
him.
it'll-
I'm gonna call him now. He gets his own abilities, but towards the end of the series, Turbo Granny comes back and basically like gives him her
Re-blesses him.
abilities.
yeah.
Yeah, basically like a blessing curse thing to boost him for the final battle.
Type shit,
I can
type shit.
I can see some
We get
type
like
of
an
shit
updated
where
version of his initial transformation.
I can see some shit where it's like Turbo Granny comes back and it's revealed. Maybe she doesn't directly tell like Ocarina and Momo. Maybe she tells like Seiko or something, or Seiko like sees the change in Turbo Granny. Maybe it's like because Turbo Granny merged with the human now that she's separated, her like spirit is weakening, and like if she doesn't stay merged, she'll start to fade, and it'll become
cool.
like a thing where it's like, yeah, like I can see Seiko like smoking a cigarette and going like, yeah, Turbo Granny's gonna die if she doesn't merge, but like she doesn't want to ask you guys because she's got too much pride or something, and like Okarun takes her back in or something.
Yeah.
I can see some shit like that happening because like she's definitely gonna come back and be a part of the story, but like how
Yeah.
I'm like thinking like, is it gonna be like an ice climber situation where it's Okarun and Turbo Granny duo or like like friendly demon inside or whatever? Because
But yeah. Oh, go
these
ahead, sorry.
these characters have been together for so long at this point, like the entire
That's what I was about to
story.
say. Like at the same time, it's like they made a point to show, Turbo Granny's exit as very cold and very uncaring and whatnot. I wouldn't be very surprised because we know that Turbo Granny fucks with these people regardless of what she shows externally. So
Yeah.
I can definitely see it being a situation where it's like, yeah, I took my power back, but I still left you a little bit because I fuck with you and I don't want you to fucking die on some I don't have any more powers type shit. So I gave you like 15% and then I took the other 85 with me and good luck with that, little boy. You know what I'm saying?
People are speculating that maybe Saint Germain caught her like he did with the fairy tale card previously after she left the group.
I hope not.
That'd be an interesting thing to go for since he's being built up as potentially the final antagonist of the series.
I don't think he's being
Saint
built
Germain
up
is the
as
final
an
antagonist?
I don't think so.
No, people are thinking that he's being built up to be like that, or at least leading into who the final antagonist could be. He could be like the precursor to like the end goal of the series, since we know that he's after the Dandadan.
Nah,
Oh,
hell nah. That's Buddy Guy Johnson. That's
Let
Good
me-
Guy
yeah.
Jones.
He hasn't
That's our
been built
boy.
up as an antagonist. He just pops up to help the group. Like, we know his goal is to collect supernatural things, but he's never explicitly been shown in a light saying, "Hey, this is a bad guy."
But
Yeah.
it's
implied that he was the one that sent them. What was the delinquent's name?
Zuma.
Zuma.
Yeah.
Into the cursed trunk in order to lead to the fairy tale.
True. There is a little bit of a sinister twang to this nigga.
He was also like
It
when
might-
his fir- when
It
his,
might not even be him. It was all in silhouette. So for all we know, it could be someone similar, or Jermaine literally did just wipe Zuma's memory of him.
When his character was
Yeah.
first shown, though, he was shown with those aliens that were like
Oh,
known
yeah.
for conquering planets, and like Turbo Granny saw him. I forget how she saw him, like a crystal ball or something, and she was like fucking pissed. She was like Turbo Geezer or something. Like she referred to him in not a positive way. So like,
Yeah, they
she's-
got beef, huh? I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Yeah, so like either Turbo Granny went looking for him, or maybe he does snatch her up, and there's a retrieve or save Turbo Granny arc coming up.
Yeah, see, I always thought, and maybe this was like just obvious to anyone who's like been reading the series, but as far as like final bosses go, I always thought it was going to come down to like some kind of war between like greater alien forces and greater, occult yokai forces here on Earth, or
Yeah.
whatever. And it wasn't just going to be one guy; it was going to be like a faction of a combination of of characters on either side or whatever. But maybe it does come down to like one dude or whatever. And
There's still some stuff left because like we haven't seen the Subterranean since like chapter 40 when after the Gigi arc. Remember those guys were
yeah,
like,
the
you haven't
suicide
seen the-
worm shit.
Yeah, they were like, you haven't seen The Last of Us, you'll pay for making an enemy out of the Subterraneans, and we haven't seen them for 60, 70, 80
Has it
chapters.
really? Was that really the last time they haven't touched back
Yeah.
on that at all yet?
Haven't seen them guys at all.
Oh,
No, wait.
shit.
I think at the beginning of the invasion, I think the boss lady was at Momo's maid cafe, or something like that. I'm pretty sure that the mother, the head, was just popped up at one random point in the story.
I think that was just some weird old people. I don't think they would end the chapter with like a cliffhanger and make it like, you haven't seen The Last of Us and just have them like in the crowd among 1,000 characters.
Yeah, they clearly
Only
trying
the-
to say get ready for these guys in
Yeah,
some
'cause
kind
they-
of
I
significant,
think-
specific way. Yeah.
I think they got a strong force. But back to the actual chapter. The Momo thing, I like the whole Momo situation and being small and seeing fairies and stuff. That's cool. But it's funny that like after they leave the library, like none of the chapter talks about Momo at all. Like she's kind of an afterthought. Like when I read the chapter, was getting all hype about Okarun being super dumb swole. I was like, yo, wait, Momo, like what is she doing? Like we don't have a clue what she's doing. So I guess next chapter probably opened with her like finding the guy, and maybe there'll be like some library jungle gym shenanigans going on. But I thought it was hilarious that Kenta was so like gung-ho for gym. Like he's like, come on guys, we gotta go to PE. And it's like, you're the fat guy, like why are you so excited to go run?
You the super bookworm, no bitches, pimpy, what you doing in PE type niggas. So like, why are you so enthusiastic right now?
I fuck with Kenta though, man.
I love him. Yeah,
I love him. A lot of people don't like Kenta, but I like him, yo. He's funny.
Yeah.
And
Good
Gundam stuff.
addition.
He
Yeah,
brings a
Gundam
certain type
Shaft.
of comedy to the series that I like.
Yeah. Got that beef
Ten
wang.
gallon
Him ain't too different,
wiener,
yo.
Cass.
Him
Yeah.
ain't too different, yo. But it's cool that all these kids are like in the same school. I do wish that like we would see some Zoom, maybe like they'll find a way to get like a fucking wristwatch that can communicate with Zoomer or whatever, so they can have like a group member who's outside of the school, because all of the kids, like everybody that they met is all at the same school. It's like, oh wow, that's a crazy coincidence that everyone goes to the same school, but let it rock.
And I just love
like-
like the incorporation of like the folklore and like all of this stuff that like Dandadan's kind of like come to be known for now. They just have such a good way of incorporating all of that stuff into this like modern, story or whatever. But I couldn't help but think about like with the fairy stuff. It's like it reminds me of I'm pretty sure there was like the exact same kind of dialogue when it comes to like Puck and Berserk and whatnot, and like how come people like can see Puck sometimes and like can't see Puck other times. It's like the exact same writing. It just made me think of that. I was like, oh shit, they're all pulling from the same shit.
One thing that it's not really related to this chapter, but Dandadan as a whole, I love how like there's no focus on people's parents other than Gigi's. Like
Bruh.
these
Yeah.
people do not care about their children.
Yeah, it's like Ed, Ed and Eddie.
Specifically, yeah. Ogurun is the most though, because like he's the main character. We haven't seen a family member. Like we've seen Seiko,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
and so
Like-
you know we kind of got like some history there. But like, where the hell is Okarun's parents, bro?
nigga,
Like,
where
or-
your mom at, nigga?
yeah, like or cousin or something. Like, show us somebody, bro. Like, who? Where do you go home, bro?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So what did y'all think about the cool guy like asking Okarun to join him? Did you think that was like do you think that he was asking Okarun to run with him so he can smoke him and look cool in front of the girls?
Man,
Yeah.
fuck, dude. That's definitely what he was on.
It's like, come on, run with me, nerd, so I can look good because I run that 6 second, you know.
Right. He's
I
like,
was,
I'll smoke this nerd right now.
yeah, I was like, is this more bullying? And he just gets like smoked, like Okarun
Yeah.
blow by the water.
Yeah, that was huge. I think it's definitely that though.
Yeah.
But you know that, but it's Dandadan though, so you never know. We might get this kid's backstory, and he might get all this writing, and then end up at the fucking crib with everybody else eating sushi and shit.
Yeah,
You never know.
It's very down to like next week see like that kid was on the way home and he like heard commotion around a corner. He just peeked and saw Okarun saving lives and was like, this dude's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
I can see it happening, but
sure,
like
for sure.
he's probably a dickhead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's fuck dude for now, regardless.
The coach, the fucking PE teacher, his pants are way up to his chest. That's how I wear my shits, yeah.
Same.
This dude's design has got to be like in reference to something. Like I immediately thought of like Wolverine.
Yeah.
Right away, but like I think it's like something else, maybe Japanese that I'm just like not familiar with or something like that. Because he looks like he's like in reference to something, even if I can't like put my finger on it or whatever. Because Dandadan be doing those sneaky little like Easter eggs in that way. You know what I mean? All the time.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Dude's a joker.
Yeah, he's stocky though. My man, thick.
Yeah, chunky man. Yeah, I was hyped, man, screaming, jumping with joy when I seen Okarun, you know, pulling out all these moves. He's like throwing the handball 35 meters, and he's running the 50 meter in 5.5 seconds and shit. And it's like, bro, like all this physical activity. He's like, when did I get so jacked, bro? He's gonna open his shirt, like he'd realize he's been like. Every time he takes a shower, he just doesn't look at himself or whatever. He's gonna open his shirt and just 20-pack abs.
Yeah, it's gonna be that scene from Spider-Man 1, the Sam Raimi joint, where like right after he gets bit, he like walks past his mirror like, hold on, you got titties?
He's like,
Wait a minute.
I've been so focused looking in the mirror at my balls that I never looked at my stomach.
Yeah, man, it'd be crazy if he starts getting popular and shit. Like coaches like, come try out for baseball team and shit, bro. It's like I was reading, you know, alien notebooks in the back of the class where people were throwing paper balls at me, bro. Y'all want me to play baseball now?
No, don't let them get popular, because then they're gonna introduce the whole like love interest interruption thing due to popularity, and I don't want.
Oh
none of that.
no, you're
none of
totally
it.
right. And especially in a story like Dandadan, there might be some crazy situation where like with a bunch of eyes on him, like in like the gymnasium or something like that, or in the lunchroom, like all of his clothes get like ripped off for some reason, and it's just lats and traps and fucking biceps, and everyone's like, hold on, this Okarun kid got it.
Okarun Schwarzenegger, yeah.
Yeah, I had a question though. How do you guys think that Momo is eventually going to like, you know, grow back to like normal size? And I feel like in a story like Dandadan, it might like kind of be hard to like predict like anything that happens or whatever. Like maybe if you're like a Shintoism nerd or something like that, or like you have like a really good like, you know, understanding of like ancient Japanese like folklore, like history, you might be able to like connect some dots and like figure something out and throw a good theory out. But like with something like Dandadan, it's just like you got to just wait and see what happens a lot of the time, especially for us like Westerners or whatever. But I just wanted to ask, like, do you guys have any theory on how this could end up for Momo going back to normal size? Happy, why don't you go then? What, you got an idea for that? I hate to spring it on you.
No, it's all good. You know, I'm not a folk historian, so I don't really know. But this does look like it's going to be a solo journey for her. So it's definitely going to involve something with the fairy or other shrinked man that she's going for.
True.
I would assume he's a fairy, because if it was another shrinked man, obviously he's not going to have any answers on how to get back to normal.
Yeah.
because he's still small. But if it's a
Right,
fairy, you know, she may be able to use some of that magic to get back to normal. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. You could get like the Kuchisake Onna spirit or whatever with the mirror and like the slit mouth woman like situation from like a couple arcs ago or whatever. She might spin the block and be like, I got you. I kind of fuck with you now or whatever. Because like, didn't we like kind of already get like some writing like that where like she was evil at first and was trying to kill Momo, but then like after a while she like came in and saved her against like the aliens or something like that at one point.
Yeah,
and then she was like, "Hey, if you don't tell your man how you feel about him, I'ma take him." And it's like,
Yeah, that. Yeah, she saw the young love flourishing and was like, you know what, I don't want to kill you because you know you got a man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the fairy guy probably be some grumpy old man where he's like, you know, I don't know what the hell, you know, I don't know how to fix you, you dumbass kid. But like, you know,
Yeah.
people say that maybe if you go to the wishing well and you step on it 3 times and then you blow the water, you know, it'd probably be something stupid like that because it's not about, you know, fucking we go from fucking shooting spitballs to fighting Gundams and fucking riding Loch Ness monsters. You never know. Like
When you said dumbass kid, I thought you were gonna be like, you dumbass bitch. I was like ready for it.
I
was
mean,
like, oh, Yatta, and then you said dumbass kid. I was like, oh shit.
It could happen, man. You know, these characters like Turbo Grade be talking that good shit.
Talking crazy, real crazy to our people.
Real greasy.
Funny as hell. I don't know. I think that's all I had for Dandadan this week, though. Yato, you got anything else?
Let's see. Nah, I'm good.
Okay, Traffy.
Nah, it was a straightforward chapter.
All right, I guess that'll do it for Dandadan 169. All right, moving into the weekly Shonen magazine segment of the episode, starting with Gachiakuta, chapter 110, an act of something. I don't even know what the asterisks are supposed to represent here, but this chapter is fucking massive.
We know now.
Oh, we know now?
Yeah, we know now.
Yeah.
Oh, because of this chapter?
Yeah, because it's,
Yes.
Oh, did I miss something?
It's love.
Yeah, it's love. Because Tamsy kept talking about love, but like, I remember when I first seen it, I was like, "Is it like fuck?" Like, I was like,
active fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That weird sense of love.
But yeah, dude, this chapter is fucking insane.
up.
The information that we got in this chapter is like probably the biggest
Massive.
information that we've gotten like for the entire series so far. Like this probably is the most important chapter so far.
yeah. It's
Like
a huge
this,
chapter.
like this whole chapter. This whole chapter literally got me to be like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna make a 20-minute plus video about the last 5 chapters that include this one because that was that massive.
Yeah.
Alongside what we had
that'll do
previously with the idea that Gachiakuta is most likely just a post-apocalyptic Earth.
Yeah, it's you know, it was a crazy chapter, and a lot of things kind of like it made me go back and reread. So I actually went and reread the chapters when they went to initially see Amo, which was around like 35 or something. So I was seeing some of the things that, you know, happened in this chapter because I was like, was that like when she saw like the angel or whatever and it gave her the boots, was that like him? And it was he like she
Could
met
be.
that. It was definitely him. She met the guy who had the boots, like in her flashback when they went to visit her in that tower, and they're like she did all that shit. Like in her flashback, she met this other guy, and he was like on some sexual shit. And then Tamsy and the clone showed up. Like they knocked on the door and walked in, and the dude was like, "You can't be here. Get the fuck out of here!" And they beat his ass.
That was
like,
Tamsy and the string clone.
That was Tamsy and the string clone, but it looked like two different. It looked like 2 guys, but it was a clone. And so,
Dude.
yeah,
That
Tamsy
is really good misdirect.
Yeah, Tamsy took the boots.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this.
What's up?
Something that just occurred to me. Quick timeout. When the anime for Gachiakuta comes out next year, when we get to this section with Amo's backstory in the beginning of the first season, I think it's going to be first season, I believe. It's like the first 20-ish chapters, right?
Yeah, it's like 35.
20, 30 chapters?
It's 35.
Okay, so yeah, in the first season, I foresee many people getting upset.
No, there's going to be a certain specific YouTuber who's going to be super annoying when that part drops.
Oh yeah, we're not.
The
We're
hit
not going
video
there.
is coming.
We're not going there because I'm already blocked for reasons. But
And he's already blocked.
Yeah,
on my end, 'cause
but
fuck
like,
that kid.
yeah, Tamsy, when he shows up, he takes the boots from that guy. He gives it to Amo, and he's like, you know, he says some shit about love, and then the clone, like him and the clone walk towards the edge, so it looks like two guys, and then like the clone merges with him, and then it grows wings, so it looks like to her it's like, oh my god, this person became an angel, but really he just made a string clone and made wings out of it and flew away. And so like he
Wow.
returned with that, and so she remembers the angel, that's why she's like you or whatever. But like she's got some fucking psychological trauma, because she, last week, she's like, you came back for me too, and he's like, oh, I just came to get these boots to you. I don't know what you're talking about. But like clearly there's something going on. She remembers him, but like she doesn't remember the trauma. I guess maybe he beat the shit out of her, and she just can't remember.
The crazy
Like
part
depressed
is,
or something.
Yeah.
the crazy part is
They did
that
say she
he
only had water
clearly
for days.
is that she clearly saw his face, but I don't know if it's trauma or some other mysterious part of his powers. I don't know how that would work unless
Would
he's
be
like
either.
unraveling the threads of her memory or some shit. I don't know.
Oh shit! I was wondering how it
Uh,
could be related to the power,
Yeah.
but you kind of just did
That is a good. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, look,
I'm
I wouldn't be
definitely
surprised if we go that route.
Yeah, I'm
We've had
definitely
just
about-
nothing but like twists these last couple of chapters ever since this arc started.
yeah.
Especially since we got to the forest trash beast and
Yeah,
Koro and
for
everything.
sure.
So I wouldn't be surprised we find out some new shit.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go back and read those chapters that Yato was referencing earlier, because I mean, like, if we got set up like that and like foreshadowing or whatever that like scene was when Amo was first getting like assaulted or whatever in like the 30s or whatever, and that was Tansy, it's like it makes me want to reread this whole entire manga now.
Yeah. Well, the guy that was assaulting her was not Tamsy. Tamsy
No, I know
showed
that.
up.
I know
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Tamsy
yeah.
showed up and like saved her from that. But it's like, basically, reading this chapter, you can see that like he had all this plan all along. So like it's like he knew that like somehow this would lead to Ruto in some way, because like everything that he's done, he's like saying that everything he's done so far was like out of love, and he's like, this will strengthen the bond that me and him have and shit. So it's like, it's really some Aizen, Kenjaku type shit. This dude's been like
Low
working
key.
in the background.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they just reveal that Tamsy is just a relative of Rudo.
That's kind of what I was
wouldn't
thinking
be
too, but that feels like a little bit too obvious to me, though. I feel like that's
It's
too
I
so
mean-
obvious that it just might work.
How else would he know about Rudo though? Like
Yeah.
to set all of
unless-
this up.
His
maybe Rudo's like or lineage or something
Yeah.
like that is a lot deeper
Possibly,
or
that might be
a
it.
lot more like tied to the greater like world than we think
Yeah.
that it is or know that it is or whatever.
I think it's just that he's just a fan of like Rudo's ancestor, because remember his ancestor, like I forget the name, but something Surabrek or whatever, and like his
From when
his
they went back to
symbol,
Graffiti Town or whatever.
yeah, his symbol was
yeah.
on the roof among the ceiling on the mural with all the other like great graffiti people and people who were paved the way for janitors years and years ago. So Rudo has ties to something like way back in the past that we just don't know. That was the whole reason they went to find the information broker anyway, to find out information about like where Amma was, and I think to also find out some shit about Rudo's past. But like I don't think he gave that information up. Like there's still some shit going on with that. And my memory is a bit fuzzy because a lot happens in the series, obviously.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's
I
like-
think he's just a super fan. Like he's just like in love with his ancestor, and it just carried on. So like now I love this kid, and I want to like be obsessed with him and have him like lean on me and shit. But it's interesting because like that whole dynamic wasn't shown at all. Like Tamsy was very much side character until now. I was like, wow, what the fuck? Like until they showed him like getting the cake and then eating it in her face and shit. I was like, what? Tamsy,
Right.
like he wasn't on the radar.
Nah.
Yeah, even after he like eats the cake that in that chapter or whatever, and is like torturing like Amo or whatever, I didn't even think that he was still anything more than just like an asshole, like just like a dickhead
Yeah.
who was like fucking with Amo. It wasn't until pretty much like this chapter, the chapter before, when we find out that he literally killed Regto and like set up like a lot of this shit or whatever, that I'm like, oh wow, this dude's a lot bigger of a deal than anyone could have possibly.
Can we talk about that? Sorry to interrupt. This actually ties into what you're saying.
Yeah.
That look that Rudo gave Tamsy in this chapter, like when Tamsy showed up when they went down to rescue Amo, you think he might know that it's Tamsy?
or has
I don't
suspicion?
think
Because
so.
that's
No.
that's a
I think
tough
that's just
look.
I think that's like instinct or something, or like some kind of
Maybe.
like gut feeling, like some kind of I don't know. It's like, how could he know anything? I mean, unless
Yeah,
unless
no.
Rudo for some reason has memories that are tied to like his life before
Well,
he. No, because I'm pretty sure he remembers his whole life. He doesn't have like any kind of amnesia or whatever. But maybe he's like the reincarnation of a certain ancestor that has like memories with like wherever Tamsi comes from, and it's like leaking into his like current character from like a previous life or something like that. I don't know. But
so
I
to
don't know how he could know.
to interrupt that, we did just get done with an arc where he went to the information broker to find her. So there's a good chance that, maybe he does know and they received that information from the information broker. And also,
Yeah.
just to specify, that look was from 109, not 110. Just wanted
Okay.
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 throw that.
Let's
So-
talk about the fact that like Tamsi killing Regto like is crazy because it means that he can just go up to the surface and back like
Yeah.
Yeah.
whenever he,
That is a
maybe not
crazy
whenever
thing.
maybe not whenever he wants, but like he has access to both of these realms in some kind of crazy way, which is insane.
He clearly has more information on a lot of things that a lot of people like characters. A lot of the characters on this surface world that we're like following seem to like not know things. It's like, oh, legend says you can get up to the surface, and they went and originally found Amo because they were like, this angel or something can tell you how to get to the surface. Nobody knows, so much stuff, but like he was up there, so
Yeah.
he clearly knows, and he was smart enough to disguise himself and not like kill Recto like in his normal face. Like this is all part of his plan. Like he's probably been following Rudo around for a long ass time, and all of this shit because we don't know like the timeline when he did the thing with Amo. Well, yeah, we do. I'm dumb. It was right after they went to see her, because they left. But Tamsi knows a lot of shit.
Yeah, and they just make such a big deal about like the way to get up there being so dangerous, and like what happens when you try, and like how you can only get so far, like kind of like a Icarus flying like too close to the sun kind of thing, but like actually baked into the mechanics of like this world and its atmosphere or something like that. So I don't know, maybe it's like string related. I don't know. That's like where like my mind goes like right away, is that like it's baked into his power set somehow.
I was actually just about to say maybe it's very simple and it's just he just made wings and flew up there with his angel.
I need
thread.
to hear some theories because there is a point in this chapter where they're all riding in the car, and he has his hand hanging out the window and he's dangling like a half hoop, and he says something that will trail after me for eternity, and the panel just focuses on that hoop.
Yeah.
What is that?
I think that's just the end, like the end of the thread. Like when you do like a choker?
That's what I thought, but it also
the things that they
like
have around their necks for like communication and GPS.
Did Amo have
is
one?
that a thing? I don't even think I remember.
They wear
I had to go back and
concept.
check.
They wear chokers.
Because up until this arc, I completely forgot that was one of the reasons why they wanted to go for Kuro also, to find out who made them, because they don't know for sure who made these things.
Yeah, you're right.
For some reason, I was thinking that it was like somebody's like septum piercing or some shit. I was thinking all types of shit. I was like, what the fuck?
I thought that thing was like, like how you wrap your fucking wire around your controller. I just thought like it was like a thing to wrap his cord around.
Oh, sure.
Or like a hook, like when you sewing or whatever, you stick the thread through the needle. I thought it was just like whatever,
to give it some place to chill, so it's not like constantly like wrapped around your leg or some shit.
Right,
or, like,
right. I thought it was
like,
just
lapel or something. Yeah,
yeah. I thought it was just something like that. But okay, if it's a choker, that's whose choker?
Or
Amo's,
what purpose is he carrying it? Is he communicating with someone or allowing someone to track him through that choker?
I just assumed that it was Amo's because I think they give Amo a choker at the end of that arc, and they couldn't find her.
That might be the case, and that would explain why they couldn't find her. I'm gonna have to reread because there's some good things are being said right now because I really don't remember that. But I thought that it was very interesting. I guess like, is this thread invisible? Because like, no one see it.
I've just been underground.
Because it looks like
he's like draping it. It's like
if you look at like
maybe it's camouflaged.
if you look at the title page, there's like a screen tone effect on the art for the string that makes it look like almost translucent or,
Yeah.
like kind of like see-through like a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that implies that it is hidden to the naked eye in some kind of way.
Yeah, because it's like a foot away from Amo, and it's like she can't see this thread, going past her. And then when she turns around to go up the stairs, she doesn't see this like thread on the ground that she's stepping over. Like she doesn't think anything about it. So it's gotta be hidden. Like he can use his powers to like make it become translucent or something.
Yeah, because like when other characters are like involved, like the art for the string is different than when it's like just him or just him and Amo, for example. Because like if you look on like page 5, the string looks very 3D and very visible. But then like on the title page and the page before, like in the sand, it like looks it has that like screen tone effect or like it's like starlight or something like
I
that.
always just
Like
took
it's-
it as like it
without
being
the shading to
underground.
make it look 3D or whatever. Yeah, and it could just be underground, but I mean like if it was just underground, like wouldn't it kind of have like a raised like effect? Like why would there be different art specifically for that, like stark white next to the sand, for example, on like page 2?
I guess like I mean, to say it's underground, you would also have to be thinking that like he can just bury like he can control the wire. I mean, I guess it makes sense because he's controlling it to make a fucking clone. So I was gonna say like he's putting the thought into it to like bury the wire or whatever the thread, and that just felt like a lot versus like it just being invisible.
Maybe he can turn on the camo and like turn it off whenever he needs to. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Maybe.
Like when it's just him and Amo, it's like not necessary
Oh,
to
yeah.
be invisible.
Something just occurred to me. I remembered something.
Okay.
So nothing to do with this chapter, but when we got the reveal that Tamsi abducted Amo, I had just started to pick back up the manga because I left it for like a binge read, like around the time when Zoro was introduced, and then when Tamsi showed up, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I completely forgot about him. It had been a while since I like read the manga. I left it for like a couple of months to almost a year to build up.
Okay.
And I like completely forgot who he was.
So wait, what
Yeah,
are you
he's-
talking about?
No, I'm just saying how back when the reveal that Tamsi abducted Amo,
Yeah.
like
He just didn't know who
I
it
com-
was.
I completely forgot who it was at that
Oh,
time
okay,
because
okay,
I
okay.
dropped the
Yeah.
manga to let it build up.
His
I'm like, who is he? Completely
Tamsi's
forgot how to look him back
mask.
up.
Tamsi's mask kind of freaked me out when I was first reading the chapter because I was like, are his eyes on the side of his face? Like, what's going on here on this on this like second page? Like he's looking out of like the eye hole and it's like on his cheek or some shit. So I'm like, am I tripping or like
Yeah, no, I see
I
that
think it's
now.
just a mask design.
He's a flounder.
yeah, like did he just have eyes on like each side of his face or like is it just the angle? Like they're actually pointing forward, but like it looks like he's looking from where his ears should be.
Yeah, maybe the mask, like, I don't know why it would do this or how, but maybe the mask like allows him to look out of like any of these like holes for like a strategic
Or maybe it's
reason of some kind. And
like
there's,
like the submarine thing. Like how like when you look in the when you're in a submarine and you look forward, but the thing is like curved and there's
sure.
mirrors or whatever. Maybe it's got some
Yeah.
kind of
I don't know. I'm looking
submarine
at the
tech.
picture right now. I think it's just the way the mask looks that gives off that effect. Looks pretty even to
Oh,
me.
wait a minute. No. It's because I'm assuming that his face is closer to like the edge of the mask than like it really is. Like now that I'm like looking at it on like page 2, like the mask comes out past his face a significant amount.
Okay, yeah,
You
that
know,
makes
to
sense.
to where like you I don't even know how to explain this like with just words, but
I kind of get it. It's just at first
Yeah.
I was like, is his eye where his ear should be at? Is this like a fuck
right.
up?
Right. If the face went all the way to the front of the mask, then yes, it would be weird. But his face is right where it needs to be, and the mask just comes forward off of his face a significant
So
amount.
he's probably got some room in the mask to rotate his head a little
Exactly.
Yeah.
Type shit.
bit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that and Delman, the guy in the bottom, like under that, he is fucking huge with those damn arms, bro. I was
Yeah.
fucking cracking up when I was looking at that shit. I was like, why is he so buff, man?
Right. Built like a fucking Stretch Armstrong for some reason.
Bro, dude is nuts looking. But
So if you look at the
Again?
double page spread on what is it, like page 6 or 5 or 6, 5 and 6 or something like that, like if you look
Yeah.
down like by his dick or whatever.
bruh, I got that written down too, bro. Why he give the Threadman a dick, dog?
Yeah. but also
He's
like on the,
Hisoka.
But on this like one where like Amo is like looking back at him, you know, it can help in so many ways, that double page spread or whatever. It almost looks like there's like something other than string in the cod piece or whatever. Maybe it is just like a collection of string, but it made me think that it was like some other kind of like artifact or something, kind of like going back to the string being connected to a choker conversation that we were having earlier. Like, is that a thing? Or is that something else? Or is that just like string wrapped up in a way that makes it look like something else? I don't know.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying though?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
could have.
a lot.
If it wasn't for the choker
Yeah.
thought, then I would say yeah, there's probably some kind of like physical medium for it to like for the string to manifest over or whatever. Like it covers this object and becomes a thing or whatever. But I think it's just the way the strings are drawn.
yeah, you're thinking too
Yeah.
much in it. Tamsy's
I'm
just getting
thinking
freaky with
too
his
much.
clone.
Yeah.
How dare you.
I'm reading too
To
much.
be fair, this
into it.
chapter made everybody think a lot.
Yeah, nah, for real though. Like so many questions. Like, what does it all mean? Type shit.
Yeah,
Also,
people.
who else is nervous about the last page of the chapter?
So,
I can look at the last page of the chapter
I-
again. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have
don't-
to kill somebody. Yeah.
It's like, who is it going to be?
Yeah,
Because why
And
would
he's
he
alone in
think
Amo's
this?
room.
Why would he think this if he's sitting alone in front of Amo? I don't think he's thinking about Amo.
Yeah, I don't think
yeah,
it's gonna be Amo.
exactly.
It's gonna be
no,
somebody
but
different.
the way it's framed, you're like, you never know.
It's supposed to make you worry for Amo, but
Yeah.
like I think it's clear that he's considering killing somebody else.
Yeah, because if it was Amo, he would just. I mean, he could just do. I don't think he's gonna like push the Amo button too many more
Engine.
times. Like
Yeah.
I
Next
think
one
she's
would-
done with her.
I wanted to say Engine too, and I feel like Engine's like a good candidate for someone to murder, but like I feel like the next closest one to Rudo is Zonka, isn't it?
Zonka and
Yeah,
Rio.
maybe. Yeah, it's just like who is like it's like you got to kill a character where like the viewers are gonna care, but you also don't kill like your fan favorite character immediately.
Right.
So it's like you don't kill Engine,
Unless you're
but it's
gay.
like. Yeah, but it's like I
Yeah.
mean, but like the Gojo thing that happens, fucking 300 chapters in, and it's like you don't right away kill your fan favorite. Right? I don't know. It's just Tamsy's an interesting character, and it's like it's cool to see like characters betray the organization, and it's never like the guy who could do like the big world ending ability. It's like the people who betray the organization is always like some support type. Like he's got these strings and shit, and then like my hero, it was like it wasn't the invisible girl, but it was like the fucking naval laser. There's always somebody with like a
Aoyama.
silly it's always somebody with either like a silly power or something that you like kind of like don't think too highly of. It's like, oh yeah, he could do strings and stuff, but like who cares? But like no, this dude is contemplating killing people, and he's torturing this little girl and beating people's asses and shit. He's strong. Like
Yeah.
like you
He's
said,
low-key
I wonder
broken.
what else.
Yeah.
I wonder. Again, we already said this. I wonder why he's doing this, and also how he managed to go between the worlds. Because we also know that there's this giant Cthulhu-esque creature between that border, and just looking at it face to face seems to kill anybody, save for like Rudo and now Tamsi.
well, I don't think that thing
Across
is.
the border.
I don't think it exists in the entirety of the sky. I just think like with that at that time, like where they went, it was there. So like I don't think it's everywhere. Like if you go up,
Maybe.
100,000 feet, I don't think it's always gonna be there. Like it's just in some
Unless it's like
areas.
role is like
True.
is realm,
Uh,
transversal,
Yeah.
like guardian. You
I-
know what I
yeah.
mean?
That's
Like,
what I'm thinking too.
yeah, but
Okay.
maybe it only works one way. Like maybe if you get thrown down, it don't matter. But if you try to go up, it's like
Well,
no.
Rudo saw it when he was falling. It was when
yeah,
he
but
got
it didn't do
thrown
anything
off.
to him.
And
Yeah,
they also
yeah,
say
yeah.
that usually any human that falls down tends to die.
Yeah, and it was called the Watchman. So it like watched. I feel like it's just watching.
Yeah.
Mm,
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't
they called it
remember
the
them
Watchman.
giving it a
yeah.
name.
I didn't remember.
Pretty
that
sure
either.
I'm pretty sure they did. If
Yeah, you
anyone
reread it
listening,
earlier than we did, so
I didn't
Or they
reread
could
that
just
part, but
Watchmen series.
yeah, anybody who if I'm wrong, say it in the comments. Let me know.
yeah, let us know.
But yeah,
It'd be crazy if that was actually Cadus.
he said he wanted to get closer with Rudo, so he was like, everything he's done, he's like it brought our bond, closer together and stuff. So whatever he's doing, he's trying to, get Rudo to depend on him and shit like that, ever so slightly, even if it's small doses at a time.
I don't see it so much as like a dependency kind of thing, because
Yeah.
he specifically says that like he's trying to open up his rage so he goes back to the form where he just beat the crap out of Amo.
Yeah.
So I think there's a power inside of him that Tamsi wants unleashed, and it's like a dingy Makima type
I was
deal.
gonna say that when you
Yeah.
finish.
Or he could just be sick in the head.
But I mean, he does right before that. He does say this will make my bond with Ruto stronger. Like as he's thinking, he's like, she's in such a bad shape, but the poor thing. He said, but this will make my bond with Ruto even stronger. Like as he's looking at Amo, like in the hospital bed or whatever. So, like this event, maybe the fact that he was there to like give Amo the boots, like in his mind is gonna be, Ruto, like, oh man, I'm really happy you were there to like cheer Amo up or whatever, and that's enough for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah, so-
clearly got some shit going on, and he knows a lot more than a lot of characters.
Yeah, the information that's going to like come from this when like Kei Arana is like finally ready to like reveal everything is just gonna be so fucking mind blowing, dude.
Yeah,
The setup,
it-
the
Speaking
setup
of
for it
Carolina,
is.
she is.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying she is based. Like she loves Witch Hat Atelier. She keeps posting about it on her socials.
Nice. That's a good one. That's
Also
one of my
defending
faves.
her Sensei Okubo's works. Someone says
Yeah.
Soul Eater mid, this series mid. She's like,
Bitch, you're mid.
Huh?
Yeah, I saw that. Or whatever,
Basically, yeah.
whatever she said. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think I have anything else for the chapter specifically. Does anybody else have anything for Gachiakuta 110?
Nah, I don't.
fuck Tamsi.
It's
I'm
big
saying-
fuck Tamsi gang for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I do. I'm just at this point. I want to know who's gonna be the like. Whenever shit like this happens, it's always who's gonna take him down. I guess Rudo, but like there's a lot of people that have
Almost gotta
reason.
murder this dude.
It's gotta
Like,
be
maybe
Amo.
Rudo's gonna set up like the layup for like Amo to take revenge on this because, like, I feel like that makes the most sense just off the fact that like what has Amo kind of done in the story besides be tortured so far?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What
Her
if
joining the cleaners would be cool.
what if Amo isn't actually like traumatized and she's playing the long game and she's like they're gonna get to a point where she can catch him with her boots and use the ability because the boots like the ability was she can mimic the sense of like people's past and get them to like see things or whatever. So maybe she isn't truly like traumatized, but
Oh,
she's
shit.
she's
think
biding
it's
her
the
time.
long con? You think
It
it's the
could
long
be.
con, bro? That would be butterscotch.
pretty good.
Yeah, she catches him off guard and like fucks with his memories and shit, and like we learn a lot about his past through her boots.
Yeah. You know what's something I want that actually feels like a good setup? I keep forgetting his name. The leader of the cleaners. He's the one that takes on and exposes Tamsi.
Oh,
yeah,
because he got all those eyes and shit. He got eyes on the
yeah.
back
Yeah.
of his fade and shit.
yeah. I
Yeah.
just forgot his name. It'll come
Me
to me
too.
later.
It's like starts with a Z or some shit.
Maybe? No, that's Zodal.
Yeah,
Nah, but I
that's-
think
Unless he
I
also
think
has
Bro's-
a Z name.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like I think Bro's shit starts with a Z too, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Anyway, that twist would be crazy for Amo if she really was playing this nigga.
it's Corvus, Arca Corvus.
Corvus. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. But all right, I think that'll do it for Gachiakuta 110.
Yeah.
All right.
Sir.
All right, moving into Galaxias, Chapter 7, City of the White Hill. Weeb, how'd you feel about this chapter, bro?
I'm conflicted. On one hand, it had good world building and had good explanations. But the way it was delivered in the dialogue felt way too stiff and unnatural. With the two characters that should already understand fully what the hell they're talking about. Though I
Yeah.
do like Schmidt though. He has a really good personality. And what was the name? Chalk, the other villain that seems to be the main antagonist of the arc. He does give a bit of strong presence, literally turning a guy's eye into stone as it falls out and crumbles. Being able to turn people into stone on a touch. That is interesting, and I'm curious to see how Nered's going to deal with that in a full-on fist fight. Because it just takes one touch to turn any part of the body into stone.
Yeah.
But,
and
But yeah, like my main issue is just how the dialogue was delivered in this section. It just felt way too much at once. Didn't feel natural whatsoever.
Yeah.
If Mirai was the one being told this or Gio, then it would have felt a lot more, natural. Also,
Yeah,
this chapter was like 13 pages, I think. Very short.
like the beginning of the chapter when he's kind of explaining his power to the dude he just turned to stone, that feels natural because this person probably doesn't know what his power was. And then you literally flip to the next page and he's talking to Schmidt and he's like, the abilities of us dragonfolk manipulate the flow of energy. He knows.
Yeah, he knows. It takes you out of the, it feels less realistic because it's like you're explaining it for the author's sake to a guy, for the reader's sake, to a guy who should already know. Like, this guy's a big dog. He's not some newbie in the game. He should already understand it. So yeah, I agree. It felt very weird, this conversation, and
This is what I was complaining about last week in comparison to Ichi the Witch. Now it dealt with like its exposition in just the second chapter, and it felt a lot more natural.
Yeah.
Even though it was like even more dense, it just felt right in comparison to this.
It feels like when it moves away from the main duo is when the series starts to kind of drop in quality from what I've seen.
It's only really happened one. It's really only happened the one time, and I think
but the main duo has been present in everything really up until this point. Otherwise, it was really just the first chapter with the main, I forget her name, the main chick and her dad.
Gio.
Or
Gia.
Yeah.
And her foster dad. But other than the way the information was delivered being weird, I think overall the chapter was decent. Yeah, but like you said, it was a short chapter. But like I like the character. I like he had a One Piece feel to him, or he's got like his quirk where it's like no bad news should ever reach my ears. And the first thing I thought was like, he's gonna hear like some horrible news and freak the fuck out, and it's gonna be hilarious. And he's got like the goofy, he's got like long ass hair, and he's got like lipstick on. He just looks like something out of a like a One Piece, and I get One Piece vibes when I read this a lot of time.
Yeah, like when the first chapter came out, I'm like, you know what? This could be the One Piece of new gen manga if it's given the time. Like, if it gives early One Piece vibes already, the main duo gives Natsu and Lucy vibes from Fairy Tail, and like the dad connection and the mystery of that and chasing after him, Hunter x Hunter. It feels like a good blend of all three of these really big adventure series.
Very big adventure vibes. I'm loving it so far. But other than with the scheduling, it just needs to be more consistent because I think, like you said, there hasn't been a chapter for like 2 weeks. So we're actually talking about a chapter that came out like last week and then or a week before last.
The official translation came out last week for chapter 7, but the actual chapter in Japan came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
the official translation was delayed a week.
Yeah,
for us for some reason.
We need more consistency to like really have this shit cooked.
I think the reason, this is just a theory, but I think the reason why this chapter was not just short but also just super information dense could be because like the mangaka for some reason had to take these next 2 weeks off and just wanted to leave something for the readers to think about or to feel noteworthy maybe, and that's why this chapter just felt so dense in information because maybe felt like we wouldn't be able to give this opportunity with just 2 weeks break, I guess, maybe.
It's also the end of a volume. Usually volumes are about 7 or 8 chapters. So this makes sense to end on, a bunch of we got a lot of information in the last 2 chapters. Last chapter we found out about what was it called? The Dragon's Cane, Dragon's Eye, the thing. That, we found out that there's a Dragon King and he's got this like orbital dragon satellite thing that flies around and shoots down shit on the surface. So it's like we found out a lot of information in the last 2 chapters.
And we got Schmidt's design reveal, which I still say is really cool. It's simple, but it's also it just feels like a good character design. I have a theory that since he's supposed to be connected to Yuri, maybe he'll just join the group at the end of the day. He gives very like antagonist turned like ally vibes. Okay. But then again, I thought the same thing about the kangaroo duo from like chapter 4, but they just instantly got arrested before their fight can conclude, which I found that as a funny way to just have an anticlimactic way to end a fight between two passionate fighters right when they're getting into things.
I don't think
I laughed out loud at that.
I don't think he'll like turn to their side, especially since we got that message from Yuri where he told them not to search from him, and this guy is apparently like associates with Yuri. I feel like that kind of opposes what Yuri would want, but I
They're
still
already
think
opposing
he'll.
what he wants by looking for him anyway.
Well, this is an associate, not our main duo. I think he will help them, but he won't be like an active member of their team. He'll be like, hey, yeah, go here, and then they'll meet him every now and again, and he'll have some information to drop or something like that.
I can
Like
see
before-
it kind of like Joker from Fire Force, where he was like, he wasn't like
That can be it.
their enemy, but he also wasn't like their best bud. And he
Yeah.
would help them sometimes and shit. But in the end, he ended up being buddies or whatever. But yeah, not like it's not somebody that joins the crew, but maybe he doesn't remain antagonistic 100% of the story.
Yeah.
Like before we got Schmidt's full-on reveal, I was initially thinking maybe it's that guy that used to be the Dragon Knight of that town. Maybe he'll join them at the end of this arc, for all we know. But then we got Schmidt's design. Right now, he seems to be researching stuff from like the past and all that for his own gains. And I'm like, there could be a way to just have him come along in the group. Maybe not as like a full-blown ally, but because he knows something about Nereid. He called him the Wave Dragon. So
Yeah.
he doesn't know something about the guy. So maybe he'll join just for the sake of curiosity, just to see what's going on with him.
I hadn't even thought about like anyone joining the crew, honestly. Like, I guess, it makes
I think
sense
Gio
to have
mentioned
it
the last
happen.
chapter.
Did he? Or did she?
Yeah, Joe mentioned in the last chapter that they're not going to be able to make it just the two of them so far.
Okay.
Especially since they're wanted criminals by the government at this point.
Okay.
And the
yeah.
Dragon Knight that Nereid knocked out in chapter 1 is alive and seems to be might be going to report them.
The speed read devil got me then because I didn't remember that. But yeah, I guess if they're getting some friends, I don't know. It'd be cool, but I
It just
probably
feels like it'd be best because they're facing an entire nation. They're going to need a group.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I just feel like it's
my
got to
money's
be.
still on Kangaroo Grandma coming back.
I feel like it's got to be like a group of like-minded-ish people. So, like, take it back to the One Piece influence. Each member has a reason that they want to explore the world. Schmidt, if he's an associate of Yuri, it kind of seems like he's already explored. So I feel like it's got to be more people that want to get out and join an adventure.
Yeah, Schmidt
Maybe,
joining
yeah.
would kind of feel like a Rayleigh joining the Straw Hats, and it's
Yeah.
like he's not gonna join. We need like a Chopper or something, or a Nami or something,
Yeah. I mean, Schmidt would end up being maybe a Chopper plus Robin variant.
Yeah, but I mean, it
Maybe.
still goes into the he was with Yuri. He's got to be good at what he does. Whereas
But here's the
Chopper
thing.
was kind of like,
What if
hey,
it's
I want to
like,
get better.
What if it's like what's a good comparison? Oh shit, I can't remember. But what if it's just like he says he was quote unquote with Yuri, but it was all mostly a lie from that eye patch guy because he said he heard Yuri's plan, but he didn't want to go through with it because he thought it was like above what he understood. So what if he's just projecting that onto Schmidt, or Schmidt's just saying that just to get the clout, just so people could help him with his research? What if that's the case?
It seems
And
like
his
the
goal is to
Schmidt.
find Yuri himself.
It seems like the Schmidt guy's kind of already a big dog in the world, and I don't know if we're gonna be like inviting Gojo to the 3-man team,
Yeah.
You never
that type
know.
of deal.
The possibility's still out there. We haven't actually seen him fight. All we've seen him do is make like illusions and transform. So let's see how that'll play out.
Yeah, we'll see. I predict that they'll get to this place, probably beat up Chalk, and then like Schmidt will say, "Oh, this is interesting," and slither away, transform into something else while he watches them beat him up or whatever. And it's like, "Where the hell are you, Schmidt?" And he's just like, he's camouflaged into like an old lady or something. And as he walks out, and they don't suspect him because old lady's a nice person. I don't see him getting
I wouldn't be
involved.
surprised.
I don't see
I'd
him
be fine
getting
with that.
involved really very soon. Like they'll probably see him, find out a little more about him, and then he'll like turn a corner and transform into something else or somebody else and disappear into the crowd.
Yeah.
But yeah, the information, even though it was presented weird, it's still good to know. You know, there's
I
these
love
like
it.
dragon ley lines across the continent or whatever.
Yeah, and how only dragon folk can do it because of their tails.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
it's good information to learn.
yeah. Hopefully, we'll see what the next volume opens up with. I can't. I don't think we've gotten a volume cover yet. I can't wait to see what the first volume cover is. This color page was really good though. I liked it.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Let me see.
The crazy part is when I was reading through it, I imagined her hair being blue without ever seeing her hair being blue. And I was like, you know what? That fits. That's exactly how I imagined it.
Yeah, she feels like a blue head.
You know, some people are speculating that you guys read? I know Yanto, you have, but you haven't read the one shot for this, have you? Traffic?
I
Okay.
haven't. No.
Okay. Well, I'll just say the one shot for it is just more like kaiju oriented in this, and the dragon person was Geo instead, and they. What some people are speculating that maybe as the series progresses, for like the final battles, it might just go towards like similar to the one shot where they end up having just massive kaiju fights. Like that'll be the final. Like they're gonna have a transformation, it'd be giant kaiju fights.
That's
Yeah, I
How would you
remember
feel
reading
about
one
that?
shot. I remember reading one shot a long time ago. I don't very much remember it, but I mean, I'd be down for kaiju battles.
Kaiju fights are fun.
Yeah, as long as they're able to make them look good, you know, don't do like don't make it hard to follow, you know, with the choreography and too big of devastation. You know, if the destruction gets too out of hand and the fighting isn't, you know, very very clear, then it can get ugly and people stop caring. But I would like for this series to you know, stay consistent, release you know, weekly and gain a following and become a bigger thing, because right now it still feels like something that, you know, just a small group of homies are reading. But like I would like to see people, you know, talk about this in the same way that people talk about, you know, Gachi and Ranger and, you know, Kagurabachi and stuff. The stuff that we're talking about, like I don't want it to stay just like that one thing that people skip. You know, hopefully you know, if you're listening to this segment, you know, let us know below what you liked about this series so far, because you probably don't really have any other outlets to talk about it. So, you know, we're giving you that now. Let us know your thoughts and what you think is going to happen and stuff like that. You know, if we're cooking any of the theories, what you think about Weeb's theory for Schmidt joining the crew? Tell us down below.
Remember Schmitty gang.
Schmitty gang, yeah.
But yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about for this chapter, or I think that's it?
that's it for me.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, I think I said what I needed to say so far.
All right, moving into Ranger Reject, chapter 154, Foot Soldier on the Run, part 10. Traffy, start the conversation off for us, brother.
Hi, Ranger Bros. So, so this chapter really feels like it's the end of this arc, and I just have to mention Negi's lack of creativity with titles, because why are we in Foot Soldier on the Run Part 10?
Right?
Because
I
it's
love
the
it.
10th part of this saga.
Yeah.
I like it though.
I do
Very
too.
easy mode.
It's simple.
But it's not like we've never seen that before in like other series too. But
Yeah.
you know,
No,
it
it's
helps,
just
yeah,
like
helps
each-
solidify the name of the arc. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, like each chapter, I was like, okay, now we're gonna, you know, change it up. It'll be something. Nope, Foot Soldier on the Run, Part 6, Part 7.
Right.
I was like, okay, you know, I'm here for it.
It's accurate. D is on the run.
Yeah, but like, dude, Yellow is so broken. This nigga just like popped all of his cooldowns at once. Susanoo no Mikoto,
Yeah.
Honoi Kazuchi no Kami, Ama no Hagoro mo Takamikazuchi no Kami. Like, bro, if I heard this nigga loading all that shit up, bro, they ain't fighting no more. I'm
Yeah,
gone.
no,
right.
You're about to ult me like 7 times.
Yeah, he popped way too many cooldowns. So yeah, that makes me think, dude. I wonder if he's actually saying all these, because like now that we know it's confirmed, because like when Red did it, you know, it was like, oh, Red's got this power, and I even like I had a theory where it was like in my Red Keeper video, I had a theory where maybe Red was like a child, like a mixed breed of like a Suzukiri clan member and like someone else, and he was like part dragon kin or something. So maybe the dragon really fucked with him and like lent their power to him, and that's why he was able to tap into it. But Yellow was doing it too, and it's like, is he, is that still the case? Is my theory possibly right? And Yellow just fucking deboed that shit. Like he's like, I got this shit. I know how all this shit works, and I can abuse the power even though I'm not like a dragon kin or whatever. But like, he's using all these powers, and is he saying these things, or are they just active and it's letting us know that like these are all the abilities that are active?
I don't think
The rule of
the
anime and manga.
dragons.
It could be either.
I don't think the dragons have any like reserve or preference, or else they wouldn't have overloaded Alzome.
Yeah, well, but
Could be
Red did.
compatibility.
There was that moment though when Red was fighting Yakushi, and he was like fumbling with the gun, and he was like talking about how it had a mind of its own. He was like, "Oh, now you want to like do what I tell you." And there was a point where he was like, there was kind of like the gun has a mind of its own, it has its own feelings and shit. So it was like, it seemed like the dragons, at least in some way, could like interact, or like it was like locking up on him. He was trying to use I think it was Yamada no Orochi, and it just like wasn't like, the gun was locked up, so he couldn't use it. And it's like, I'm fighting fucking Godzilla, I kind of need a weapon right now, so like please work. And then it worked, and now he's God mode. He's got the cape and shit. So now Yellow's doing it, but Yellow didn't have any of that stress.
Yeah.
And is it just me, or is the art like extra busting in this chapter too, bro? Like
It was good.
I'm
Yeah,
just
he brought dick for this one. Yeah.
Real dick damage, bro.
Yeah,
like,
he
dude,
brought it.
Like,
So,
I'm just looking at this like panel like on page like 7 with the perspective on these like chains going up to the fortress and whatnot. It was just like such a good angle for the camera, and then like the next panel down with like the checkered like screen tone pattern on the Neo Ranger. I think that's Sakurama and D standing next to each other, and like there's just so many cool like artistic like moments in this chapter. I was just like, holy shit, Negi's really in the bag right now.
Negi's
really
always in the bag.
He's always in the bag.
Yeah. Damn, dog.
Yeah. No,
We not edited that.
I like,
Die on camera. Yeah.
I like swallowed like some spit weird or something like that. That was fucked. But nah, like dude, just like every panel seems to have some like really cool like artistic like effect to it. Like the stark whites on the shading on like this one dude's face, where he's like, they both won on like page like 17 or whatever. You have like the screen tone dark shading like for everything below the nose, and then just like stark white from like the nose up, but then that same like dark shadowy like screen tone effect just for the eyes and shit. It's like, I feel like he's just like throwing like the whole bag at this chapter artistically. It's just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's intentional. Like a lot of we're probably going to see some of these characters again. Like I don't feel like he does a lot of like throwaway characters. So like we'll see this stupid like commercial, this TV personality guy again in a later chapter or something, and we'll see the director, and we'll see a lot of these characters and a lot of these like artistic things again. Because Negi he's in that bag, man. He likes rolling around in that bag, playing in the kitchen.
For real. Nah, that ass.
Yeah.
But what do y'all think of? Well, first off, let me start this with. So in the beginning of the chapter, we see Chidori's talking to Hisui, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, it's time to enact the plan." Do you think that there was a part that was cut out from this chapter where Hisui and Chidori had a more extended conversation to really inform her of what's been going on?
It just
Because
wasn't shown to us for like dramatic effect later.
Yeah, because she says she has her own grievances with the Ranger Force, and of course there's the surface, it's all an act that could be a grievance, but up until this point we haven't really seen anything where Hisui had a problem with the Ranger Force. But if Chidori was like, hey, yeah, the Ranger Force created the executives, she would definitely have problems with the Ranger Force, since her whole issue is with executives.
Right. Well, they're the information
Very
branch
true.
too, so it's like, or the secret intelligence like branch or whatever. They're like
Yeah.
the
The ones
so,
meant to hunt
like,
down the bosses.
yeah, like there's definitely like a lot less members of the Rangers that know the real whole truth than like members that do. So like just Hisui and Chidori being a part of Green, like that grievance probably is directly, you know, just as we know that it is now, that they fucking made all of this up for the sake of like, you know, entertainment drama and some kind of like, you know, weird ideal of like good needing to fight evil. So how can we like, you know, generate that in a way that like makes us superstars and generates profit or whatever and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's just like so many things wrong with that, like
She
without
can-
any further explanation or whatever. Yeah.
Being someone who came into it as, you know, at a young age as a child soldier, she's seen the like the gritty, you know, underworld of this shit. So she's not like, she's never been in it for the glamour and the commercials and stuff. She didn't like being on TV, and she, you know, she came in this shit bloody. Like she didn't join because she wanted to be famous. She was recruited because her family was killed, and you know, she beat up an IRA member, and she was a prodigy. She was the youngest, I think 10 years old. They said she shot up the ranks and became a JFC at like 10 years old. So she knows a lot of things that a lot of other people, a lot of these rankers and, you know, people probably wouldn't know. But also I think somebody I peeped into the Ranger Discord a few like 20 chapters ago, and I mentioned it in my video on my own channel where I made a video about the executives. And I think part of why she says there's grievances is somebody said that Imamatai might have been the one to kill her family, and the reason for that was when Dee and Hisui and all of them, they were in the slums and they were talking to the old man and he had the chop. Dee was like, you know, like Dee was already interrogating the old man trying to find out, you know, what he knew. And like Hisui pulled up and they're like, you know, all right, so let's get the rundown. And Dee's like, you know, old man, tell me where Imamatai is. And Hisui responds, she's like, Imamatai, why are you saying his name? How is he involved? And then she kind of like stares out into space, and it kind of like felt like maybe she knows that like that executive was what caused her family to be killed, but like she thought it was maybe dead. And it's like maybe they told her like, yeah, we killed that executive. And like hearing Dee ask this old man like, where is he? It's like, so they lied to me about that executive being killed, and he's actually still out there somewhere.
Oh man, and that does bring up a possible future conflict between D and Hisui, because if D still sees Imamatai as like this parental figure that was the only executive nice to them, but Imamatai was who killed Hisui's family, they're gonna have basically a D Noah moment with the old chop dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could become like D and Hisui like fighting over this invader's life. But there's also the fact that like the Rangers aren't all clean, man. Like we know, like even if Imamatai was involved in the murder of like Hisui's family, it's very possible that like the damage was actually or not even a setup. It was just the damage could have been done by a ranger. Like Red could have like thrown Imamatai through a house and was just like, you know, I'll just blame this on the executive, like he did in the woods when he burned down the forest and was like, I'll just blame this on the executive. And Chidori was there. He's like, yo, this is my house, bro. Like you can't do that. Like you gotta chill. Like this could have very much been ranger damage or collateral, like or Imamatai could have been fleeing, running for their life, and they just blamed it on them. And Hisui knows, like they told Hisui, like, yeah, the executive that killed your family either A, got away, or two, we killed it. And like now we're coming back to that. Hisui's like, I got these issues with the Rangers because she now knows the truth, either, you know, from looking into it herself or like hearing D ask about like, where's the executive that gave you this shit? She's like, well, he's in her head. It's like, this guy should have been dead, you know, for 10 years now. What do you, why you mention his name? He's dead.
Yeah.
And I know that we're like kind of, you know, like we've been talking about the comparison to the boys in Ranger Reject for like pretty much since it started and whatnot. I know we're tired of bringing that up. Like, sorry, V, because I know that you hate it the most, but like, I can't help but think of the boys again when it comes to just like this reveal that the, you know, Rangers created invaders, you know, for the sake of like creating this like dramatic dynamic between good and evil, you know, for the sake of entertainment. Because like in the boys, like it's like a reveal that Vought, you know, injected babies with you know, Compound V and like made them, you know, superheroes in the first place and whatnot. And that was like a big deal in that story, and that was hidden from like the general public. And then later on in the story you find out that they were secretly like going overseas and injecting like foreign terrorists and whatnot with Compound V so that they can create supervillains so that they could justify like bringing the Seven and America's superheroes into the military and whatnot. And it just feels so like reminiscent of that I like had to bring it up, even though we're tired of making the comparison. But like, this is huge info. Like, this is fucking crazy as shit. Like,
so I don't disagree with the comparison, but on a fundamental level, the two series are different.
So different.
It's like,
no. I'm not trying to say it's the same.
Yeah,
I'm just
no,
saying it's just like funny how similar they can be at times.
I just mean like the main issue with that comparison is that the feeling of the series. So Garth Ennis hates cape shit, which is why he made The Boys. Negi loves Sentai, which is why he made Ranger Reject. And we can feel that by the way the story is told. That's the only issue with the comparison. But otherwise, we can acknowledge that it is a valid, comparison.
And it's a very good one to like kind of introduce people, because when you're trying to recommend a show, people are always like, well, what's it like, or what's it better than? Because nowadays you can't recommend a series to somebody without saying like, well, it's better than JJK. You like JJK, it's better than that, or like saying it's like it's either like a thing or it's better than a thing that you like. So in this case, it's like, it's a series and it's like The Boys. You like The Boys, didn't you, dumbass? Well, you'll like this. And it's like, it's kind of hard to escape that like easy way in to like, nudge people in a direction of checking out the series. But then you read it and it's like, well, it's kind of like The Boys, but it does things, very differently from The Boys. So in a way, it's kind of not like The Boys.
Right.
And it's also just a straight up, for basically the whole thing. This is basically just like a full-on like action mystery series.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of mysteries.
There's more twists
It's
than
a
an
lot,
M. Night
especially
Shyamalan
from-
movie.
and
Better than an M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Nah, for sure. And I want to bring up like just like how like meta the series is, which is like another point that we have been bringing up for years when it comes to this series and whatnot. But just like the metatextual layers that we have like in the climax of this arc alone are just like insane, because D is having like an existential crisis after learning the information that the Rangers created the invaders even, and it's all a part of some script to tell some story on TV for the sake of whatever, and he's trying to fight through that concept and that idea that everything is predetermined, even his life and his motivations and his like entire being is all fabricated for the sake of following some storyline and whatnot. So now he's trying to fight back against that by pulling the stunt that they're pulling at the end of this arc. But then you pull the camera back even farther, and it's like, yeah, but this is a manga written by Negi Haruba, so you're still doing, what you're kind of like fighting against in this arc, but like in the real world, because it's a fucking manga and you're not a real guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Inception. It's like meta Inception, like comic book shit, and it's just so fucking
crazy.
sick and genius. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy to like be watching the things that D is going through, because like if he was a different character, like if he was anyone who wasn't like a Gooby or whatever, and he actually had like a human face, like people would be saying like, this is very traumatizing. Like the shit that D is fighting out, like he is constantly having his world blowed and like his eyes opened up, and the things that he's like learning about his species and like how people, how humans behave. Like he learns, oh, some of these humans aren't so bad, but then he talks to Yellow and is like, are weapons made of people? And he just smiles. He's like, yeah, I made the invaders. Like I made you. I'm basically your granddad. It's like, hold on, brother. Like you kind of fucking with I'm only 13. My mind is being fucking frazzled. But he's got this like skeleton face, and it's like nobody takes it serious because he looks silly. But like if he looked like anybody else,
this is deep.
Yeah, for real. It's like if he looked like anything, like if he looked like another character, like he had hair and a face and eyebrows and stuff, like a lot of this shit would probably be like, it would probably look visually more traumatizing. But like you can, with following D, he does have expressions. It's kind of like Deadpool. He's not like a straight face. He does his eyebrows they do raise and stuff like that. So he has his shocked faces and shit. But like if he had a human face, you'd probably be able to see a lot of this stuff more. But he still does a great job at having D show expressions and be wrapped up in this shit.
That is another huge point to the, love for Sentai that Negi has, because typically what you get in like Kamen Rider series, for example, is even though they're fully suited up and their face is covered because they wear helmets, they are fully expressive without their face needing to be seen, and that's something that definitely
head
carries
movements and camera angles and like dramatic zoom ins and like how far away the camera is from them at any time. Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. I have like no experience with like Sentai outside of like the Americanized like Power Rangers, like
Kamen Rider is gas. Get on that shit.
Yeah, I know.
I want to take a
day,
look at Kamen Rider at some point.
maybe
one day. Nope. but yeah, I mean, it's, you can see like every other character. Not saying D isn't, not saying D isn't good at showing expressions, but it's just imagining D as a human, and not like somebody whose face is a skeleton and he's like, oh, whatever. More people would probably notice it if you saw him, his trauma like as a human. But since he's like this, only people who are really locked in like notice it and pick up on that shit. But like characters like Yellow, he's got his helmet and you can see his mouth, and he's normally smiling, but like on this one page where D is like singing and he's doing the Dragon Keeper song, Yellow look it up, he's like, what the fuck is going on? Like he knows something's off, but he doesn't really like know what's going on. He's like, well, I'm guessing it's like this guy, he's just got a death wish. He up there singing, like, I could shoot him from here. And he's watching him, and you can just see that, like, Yellow is just thinking about, like, what the fuck is going on.
Right.
Yeah. So,
I like the fight with Angel so far. How do we feel about that? It's looking pretty cool. I'm curious to see, do you think she'll get closer and closer to turning into an invader at some point? Because it was really stated by Yellow that it's likely.
So that was like really cool information to get too. It's like if you don't have whatever surgery he was talking about, just like trying to use these powers for an extended period of time will eventually turn anybody into an executive. Huh?
Well,
huh?
So my personal gripe with Ranger Reject is how Usakubo's character is being treated. But I do see it as a relatively well set up. So a few chapters ago, we get a conversation between her and Tokido where she says the more she uses her powers, the more it feels like she's losing a sense of herself. But as we know Usakubo, she's never really been her own character. She is whatever reflection of who she's attached to. So Yakushi at first, and then now D. The best way to set that up is to gradually bring her to realize her faults, and then she becomes a character of her own, and then she starts really struggling with losing her sense of self as she uses her powers more. I think that's the best way to set that up, because right now
I really do hope it goes that route.
I have gripes with her character because she's not really her own character.
Yeah, she's just become like Omega
She's
D
fun.
fan out of kind of not out of nowhere, but like she it's just because like you said, she before we didn't know that she was like a Yakushi mirror or whatever, and she was doing everything based on his goals and plans. And once we found out, it was like the shift went from that to immediately like Lord D and Sir D and stuff, and it just feels like she's like his maid or whatever.
Oh, okay, I can see what you're saying now. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was like, nah, didn't she get like her writing in the Invader Rights Association?
Yeah,
arc? But
it
then
was
the way that you kind of like just broke it down makes a lot more sense now. I
Yeah,
was like,
her
wait.
entire character is like, thank you, Sir D. Now, it's just not out of nowhere, but like it's the change kind of happened quick.
Yeah.
But in story, in the story, it's been a year and a half, so like it makes a little more sense knowing that there's
It also
kind of
makes sense. To add on to that, it also kind of makes sense to the fact that since she was little, she was kind of molded into a specific mindset, and like Traffy said, she was like kind of a mirror of whoever was influencing her. I think D was like the first like crack, but due to how she like grew up, she ended up being like super attached and codependent to D, going towards the opposite direction instead of like focusing on that crack that he made.
And it's
so
like
that's probably going to be where we're going to lead things off, hopefully.
it's like you usually, like most people usually, end up believing and following the same things that their parents do. Yakushi was a big Invader fan, like if your mom and dad vote for this party, you probably will vote for them too, usually that type of thing. So it's like Yakushi, he was a super Invader fan and he loved Invaders, and so now Usakubo's following in his footsteps. She finds out the truth, and D is an Invader, and now she's like, my dad was onto something. He was kind of cooking.
And Negi Haruba has to be aware of the gripe or criticism that kind of, or that Traffy kind of like brought up and whatnot with her character, I would assume. And maybe it's all going towards something for her character eventually later to eventually establish her own, goals and motivations and things that, make her feel truly, independent and have agency of her own. So I'm at least optimistic for that possibility personally.
Yeah.
Now that you brought up the
groundwork
gripe,
is there.
Yeah, now that you brought it up, because I didn't think about this at all in regards to her character until now, but I want to say that it's so like obvious and apparent now that you brought it up to me that like Negi Haruba has to be aware of it as well and has something planned for her. So
because like
I think
her losing her sense of self right now, I don't feel like that would hit hard just because there isn't much of herself.
Yeah. That makes sense.
He's aware. He's very aware. I think he's definitely planning to do something because she was very much like, she seemed like a very good character. Not to say that she's bad now, but she seemed like a well-rounded character. And then like when the three-way battle arc ended, she became like the yes man. Like, yes, I'll do anything for you, D. Whatever you say, D. We're gonna cook and clean and live together, and you can stay in my apartment, D. Whatever you want. It's just there was a shift, and it's like I think. D isn't like disrespectful to her, but he's just kind of like, you chill out. I think he tells her like, go, do something else or whatever, and he like lets her, fight for him. But I think D isn't the type of character that's like, fuck off. If you're gonna kill yourself for me, do it. I think he does care for people like Usakubo, but like she's become like clingy now. Yeah, he puts on the front, but she has become clingy now.
To be clear, he would definitely say that to someone's face, but he doesn't mean it.
Yeah, he doesn't actually want you to, but he's got to put on his airs that he's this big evil, genius invader that's going to take over the world one day. So what do I give a fuck type shit? Yeah.
Yeah. You want to throw your life away from me? Do it then. I don't care. I'm a monster.
Yeah. And then as soon as you have the knife to your jugular, he's like, wait.
It's like, well, on second thought, I kind of like this human. So like, could you not do that?
Yeah.
So, I do think that leads us into D's big plan. What do y'all think of that?
Honestly, it's something that I was kind of expected
low key
something
expecting similar. Yeah.
What? That's crazy. I kind of like go into things and I don't really like expect things. So like this shit was a big surprise to me. I did not know it. Like
it's not that I was expecting it, but once it finally happened, I was like, oh, that's it. That seems like so easy. It makes sense and seemed like it would have been so easy to predict if I was really locked in like that. But I wasn't.
Somebody on Twitter, I think it was Rick said, they'll probably comment because they always comment. Shout out to you. But I think it was Rick said they was like, this is like the best form of anticlimaticism is maybe the word. It's like anti-climax. So like they, you expect like a big boom, and like the whole time I was reading this arc, I was like, really, how the fuck is D gonna get out of this? Because the stakes keep getting raised, and like honestly, like me being locked in, I'm obviously not somebody who reads this and goes like, oh wow, it feels like the end of the series. But as I was reading this arc, I was like, I can see how someone might read these chapters and go like, I don't know how this series is going to continue after this. But like somebody actually did say that, like I feel like Ranger is ending, and I'm like, no. So they're
people been saying that for arcs about the series, bro. People think that just because they can't see like the light at the end of the tunnel, that like this is that, and I have no idea where it's going. So
with this one, somebody was saying like, what else is there to cover? And I'm like, well, there's a lot. Like D has a whole plan to release these chains to free his fortress so he can get his people out of there and then take down the Ranger. Like it's still a lot for him to do. Like we can't just end it here. But like I was reading this and I was like, how the fuck is D actually going to get out of this? Because he's got like 19 people gunning for him right now, and he's the target. Like they mobilize battalions. Like he's a big name now. Like they were marching down the street like, yo, that foot soldier D is out. We got to go get his ass. I'm like, bro, he's major league now. And so to have it in like this was perfect. Like
to that point too, it does feel like Negi Haruba is like employing intentional anticlimax for this specific thing, because it works like narratively, but then it also works like in the idea of like, yo, this is a TV show that's a building up towards like this really big moment that's going to be like cathartic for the audience, and we can't wait to see who eventually takes it. And it's like it's anticlimactic for them in like a that was anticlimactic kind of way, but then it's
Yeah.
also like, you know, a properly used like, you know, version of the narrative principle, you know, of anticlimax at the same time. So it's just like really well done and like layered in like a
think it
couple
was-
different ways. Yeah.
I think it was perfect because, like, at the end of the day, like D, you know, he said he wasn't going to be, you know, he's not going to do anything the way they want. Like they, you know, Yellow and them are saying like he's just stick to your role. You know, you're just a drone. Just do what you're told and whatever. And so D, you know, even though he goes along, like he still at the end of the day, you know, goes along with the show. He's an actor in the show. He doesn't want to be an actor anymore, but he does follow through with a plan, follows a script, but it screws over everybody and all of their expectations. Somebody was expecting a winner. Yellow set this up so that like he can shit on the Neo Rangers and we can have a winner, and you know we will beat them. The actual Rangers are the best, and in the end, you know, we take out the foot soldiers. But D, you know, D is the winner. Nobody knows that D is alive besides the people. Like the civilians think D's gone. Everybody who's watching the show, they really think, you know,
Yellow
oh wow, that
probably knows
sucks.
he's alive.
Yeah, no, Yellow 100% knows, but like the people watching the TV show think that he's gone. So like the civilians, they're like, you know, oh, this sucks. Both people won, but like everybody else knows that D is floating off somewhere. So like it ruins everybody's plans, and you know it hurts the ratings and stuff. So like it hurts more than just like the people who didn't get the kill, because the ratings and the numbers matter. They need these things to keep getting their sponsorships and stuff, and like to not have a winner declared to now, you know, this peacetime. Both Rangers are great. The Neo Rangers and the regular Rangers are great. Everyone's happy. There's no war, you know, there's no money to fund, you know, the back and forth battle between the two Ranger factions. It just cancels out everything, and it's perfect.
There is no
You know.
war in Bossing Say.
And
Yeah,
I said,
Yeah.
I said narrative principle earlier, but I meant literary element, and that was making me itch, so I had to come back and say that.
So I need some confirmation. Is Rick said party jams on YouTube?
yes.
Okay, so he did drop.
Oh,
Yeah, he said something
He,
like
he
that.
did drop a comment on my video for 154 saying best use of anticlimactic I've seen. So
Yeah,
I was
so it
going to
wasn't.
bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys really got some good insight.
Yeah, he stage
And there's just
dropping
a
the
start.
bars. Yeah, he's a bar dropper. Let me
Yeah.
see.
But in regards
Party
to
jams.
to what you were saying about the series coming to an end, I actually did talk about this because it's not a matter of I don't see where it could go. It feels like it's getting close to the end game. Like you have. So there's a lot of missing links, like what I predict will be the eventual turn of Tokita towards D's side, as well as, you know, Noah's storyline, which I'm sure will continue. But
Yeah.
if you have D, Chidori, Usakubo, and Hisui all on the same page, they could all go storm the fortresses or the battalions to break the chains. And that's add Suzukiri on that if she decides to jump back in the fight, and that's a pretty solid team.
They still need the like actual Dragon Keeper and the JFC's like confirmation code type thing to break the chains though. So like Green is handled, but like they said that you needed like the first class and the person right under them. So in this case, like assuming Suzukiri is still considered first class, her and Yellow would be able to do it. But then, you know, for Blue, it's Soma. I'm sure they can probably turn Soma or get him to convince him somehow. But like Izome was the second, and it's like she's you know an executive now. She would never agree to that. And then you know, Sosei 3 or whatever. It's like there's some issues there. Maybe they could, you know, just because the path is plotted out doesn't mean it has to be followed. They could definitely take a shortcut or, you know, break the road and, you know, make a different path. They don't have to go straight through. They can blow up the chains or something. But personally, I think the story, like if I had to put a time on it, I would say it's probably about 50%. I don't see it ending soon. But like when I was saying people, I don't see how this is going to end. It was more of like, I don't know how D is going to get out. I didn't know how D was going to get out of this situation where everyone was gunning for him.
Oh,
I don't think the story is anywhere close to done. There's still a lot of, you know, loose ends to tie up and characters that we just haven't seen and stuff and, you know, shit like that. There's a lot to go over as far as story. So,
and I mean, like, just a quick note. What is Sosei the Third gonna do when, you know, Olive Green, the Neo Rangers, and Sosei the Second pull up on him?
Yeah, I think he's gonna get
Existential
washed.
crisis.
Cooked.
Yeah, he's gonna get spanked, but still, like unless I'm misremembering, I'll go back and reread. I'm pretty sure that it was stated that you need like they didn't say like if each person has a passcode or a password or like maybe they got to insert that tool, but it was like the Dragon Keeper and their JFC are required to release the chain. And so like I don't see all like, I can see like 2 or 3, but there's 2 or 3 that I just don't see. Like I don't see Yellow like agreeing to
No,
release the
not
chain.
at all.
Yeah, so it's like some stuff there's going to be some conflict still, and I mean Yellow's just got to get his ass beat. His ass whooping is coming.
What if it also just requires just the divine tools in general?
Yeah,
Just
I mean
to
that could
unlock them.
be the thing, but like I'm thinking like maybe they have to be invoked or something. They can't just be maybe they have to be in use. Like you have to stick
Maybe.
the key in the ignition, but it has to be active.
That would
I
handle.
can't wait to see what he looks like under his fucking helmet, bro. Like, what if he's got like
They
some
showed him.
weird ass-
Yeah, they
Oh,
showed
did
him.
they?
Yeah, he
Oh.
took
Yeah, they
in
showed
the
him.
when they were on the talk show when Wally Pond fooled Red or whatever. Everybody took their masks off and they were like, "Oh my god, everybody's like unmasking." Yeah, that was a while
That man
ago.
got a bowl cut.
Damn, I guess I didn't remember that. I was assuming because of all of this like biological experimentation going on that maybe he had like some kind of like weird disfigurement going on under there because like he tested some shit on himself or something.
Yeah, no, he's just Shinji from
But
Bleach.
he's just
Yeah. He looks
I
he
do
looks like a
remember
kid.
that.
Yeah,
No,
'cause-
you're right.
Because in
Yeah.
because in Sosei's like fucking separated memories, he was there too, and he looked the exact same. So I think he's probably been experimenting on himself to like not age because he looks the exact same as he did in Sosei's flashback, which we don't know how long ago that was, but like he doesn't look like he's aged from the flashback.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Um,
So he do got some of that shit going on with himself. It just didn't like horribly disfigure him on some like
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera shit like I thought. Okay.
That man
Yeah.
self-cloning.
like you were saying about the meta stuff though, Negi definitely knows, and he's tapped into the communities and the fan bases, I think. So he knows a lot. So like, we keep getting these Hisui, fan pages where everybody's like, "Oh my god, Hisui's there, Hisui for president, get him Hisui." It's like this is the first time that we've gotten the like Hisui fan club, in manga, because everybody obviously she's like a fan favorite character among the readers. But like it's funny to see that she's a fan favorite character in the story too. And like he shows us that a lot.
Yeah.
When I do want to say when D was up there on the building and he was singing the song, I was like, what is gonna happen? And I thought he was gonna do something Death Messiah related. Like I thought he was gonna transform into Yakushi or something, or like some kind of illusion was gonna happen, and like he was gonna scare
the
people
leg
because
was about to activate in a
Yeah,
new way or
something.
something. Yeah.
something. Because I mean, when he fought against Yakushi, remember he transformed into him, and they had like the mind fuck battle where they both were like reading each other's minds and like mumbling.
Oh, right.
So like
Yeah.
he can change into him. So I thought he was gonna like for my next trick, Death Messiah is back, and it was gonna like freak everybody out because he was up there singing the song, Death Messiah's coming, or get him Rangers, whatever he was saying. I was just like, what's gonna happen? And it was this fucking anticlimax. The damage was cool though. The scream when they both like cut him, and he's like, he's a good actor.
I mean, he had years of practice.
Yeah, can't wait for next chapter since Hibiki's like, come back to the base and I'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we
Yuki.
gotta wait a week.
Yeah,
Break.
we on break. That's unfortunate. The worst news.
Ay, ay, ay.
But hey, what a chapter to leave off on, right?
Nah, for
Yeah,
real.
it was a banger.
Did y'all have
Yeah.
anything else for the chapter?
Nah, I'm
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm straight.
I think I'm good too. Real banger though. Can't wait for the
Yeah.
next one. All right, well that'll do it for Ranger Reject chapter 154.
All right.
All right, moving into the final segment, magazine-wise, of the episode, the Weekly Shonen Jump segment. And we're going to start off with Ichi the Witch, Chapter 3, Third Hunt, Raiko Magic. Yato, why don't you start us off, brother?
Of course. I loved it. Raiko, man, like immediately, I feel like I have a different way of reading chapters. Like when I read the chapters, and then like at the end, I get my thoughts together and stuff, and then I look at what other people think, and I'm like, wow, how did you, people make these connections really fast. So like when when Raikou was introduced and people were immediately saying it's like Pokemon, I was like, wow, there's a Pokemon named Raikou or Raikou. And it's like I didn't put that together. I was just reading the chapter, and it just felt like, it felt like directly, the win. I think it was a legendary dog or whatever, and it's like this was like
with
that.
the mustache.
And, I think so. He had like the purple cloud on his back, and it just
It was a tiger.
Yeah, this was straight like that Pokemon, but like mischievous and a fox or whatever. It was a fun character. I like that he's like walking around and like as he's like, I'm gonna make myself the town. He's like, his tail is wagging and stuff. He's like excited. It was a fun character. He's a funny little idiot fox. But yeah.
And with Ichi stalking him the entire chapter,
just popping up in the background randomly.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah, and at first I was like, why is he like saying all of this shit out loud? I like kind of like felt weird for a second that the dialogue was kind of like unraveling in this way, but then they spun the block and then like gave like writing to explain why he was talking to himself in the first place, and I was like, okay, they considered
he's hyping himself up.
Yeah,
these ain't no amateurs.
Yeah, he's very into himself, and he's like, I want to be the strongest lightning magic. So that at least tells us that there's other magics in these different elements and different levels and tiers to this shit. So like he's probably a little dog. He a Pikachu, but there's a Zapdos out there somewhere,
which actually makes me think. So further into the chapter, you get relatively weaker magic, and instead of having like a little chibi version, you get a stone with an inscription, which makes me think that the way that the magic system works is, say you can have 5 different, lightning based magics, but they each have a different inscription that does different things. So one might be like a giant thunderbolt that comes down from the sky. Something might be like a electric charged field that paralyzes, but they each only have one skill.
Yeah, like you can fire lightning bolts, or you can command lightning, or you can like create a lightning armor. But like this guy, his ability specifically, he says, is like what is it? Boiling the blood from the inside. Where is it? Boiling a creature's blood and cooking them from the inside. So like Ichi will now be able to roast things from the inside with his lightning, but he won't actually. Well, he won't also be able to take this ability and create lightning armor. So someone can't like sneak up on him, touch his shoulder, and get electrocuted. But if he finds a lightning magic that is like lightning force field magic, then he would then have that ability too. So I think that's cool.
The Scarus was smart, just taping up his mouth so he wouldn't just say the spell instantly.
Yeah.
Maybe kill everyone.
I like how the chant is like inscribed on the gem too. It just like covers all of the bases as far as like how this kind of stuff works. You can tell that this power system is going to be like very thorough and like well understood and like logical like the whole time. And I'm like excited for that in a fantasy series.
Yeah, and my prediction was right. He's using magic infused traps, which
you did say that, didn't you?
I did. And then he just caught a lightning magic, so now he's gonna have like an electric fence trap.
Bro.
Well, actually, that is true. That is gonna be an interesting way to go about things.
I can see him doing like a lasso or something, like throwing a rope at somebody, and they're like, "Fool, you throwing a rope at me," and then the rope is actually charged with electricity or something, if that's how he can apply it. But still just very interested to see how the King amplification magic will interact with other magics. That's still just a big thing that we need to see.
One thing I do want to give
stole
them,
this chapter again.
Yeah, of course. One thing I do want to give them credit for is they studied. They pulled up legitimate information that I fact checked just to make sure. Like the whole thing about foxes having to pound or liking to pounce from the northeast, that is a legitimate thing.
Oh, cool.
I started to look it up, but I forgot. But it sounded real, and like I've seen. Yeah, you've seen, I feel like everyone's seen this like pounce, I want to say animation, but it's not like an anime, but this boing, shit that the fox does on here. It's like, I've seen that in videos like National Geographic and shit. So like, it sounds like they really did do their homework.
Yeah. And when you feel that, it's always a good feeling when you can tell that something is like well researched conceptually.
Yeah. When when they first when the Raiko magic found is it Driscars or Discars? Is there R in there? I feel like
Discardus.
Discars. Yeah, when it found her singing, like it didn't connect immediately that it was her. I thought that Ichi had did like a magic illusion, so like maybe there was some sort of magic trick that was being played, and like there wasn't really a woman there, and the fox was gonna like jump into another pitfall. But we already did the pitfall with Iro, so it's like okay, don't repeat the same trick twice. But I definitely didn't like put it together immediately that it was her, and I thought it was just like a magic, oh, I hear something in the woods. What's that? Oh, it's a sweet little woman. My first kill, and it's not a woman there at all. It's just a trap.
Yeah.
How did you not?
I'm actually surprised she agreed to be bait.
She's strong. I guess she just really
strong, but I guess
believes
she's
in
like,
her.
I fear she'd be too prideful to be bait.
I
But
think
then
she
again,
just-
thing is how she also has a bit of an ego and be like, this fox can resist trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I think
Makes sense, actually.
I think this was more of a test for Ichi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
too, yeah.
he
was.
kind of just surprised Uroro, and so this was like, hey, can you actually, take one down by yourself? And
Yeah.
And he did like a normal
yeah.
hunter.
And she has a little
Yeah.
bit of a sinister side too. So like tricking, an egotistical like magic that she knows is like bloodthirsty and ruthless probably gives her a little bit of like, gratification or satisfaction. to
Yeah,
some degree,
definitely.
too.
like this thing couldn't help but try and pounce on me because I'm a beautiful maiden in the woods or whatever. It makes her feel better. And she's swole. She probably was confident that it wouldn't have like done. She probably had like a magic force field up that it just couldn't see because she's on another level.
Or like even if like Ichi failed, she'd probably just like stand up and evaporate this thing because she's like
Yeah.
strong as fuck.
Yeah, yeah. So she wasn't worried. It was really just a test, which I'm guessing this whole thing was just like, she probably didn't feel confident bringing Ichi back to like the witch society with like their hands, empty. So it's like she had to stay out here and get him to catch magic so that she could say that he was capable, not just that like he lucked up and got lucky with the king magic and like, I'm not just bringing some random guy. Like, don't kill him, don't make him a slave. Like he's capable. He stalked the magic in the woods. He's got a different way of thinking. He's valuable. He can bring value to the team. So like she had him catch a magic so that now we can go back home, because after that she whipped out her mirror and the other chick is on the mirror. It's like, I've been trying to reach you, blah blah blah, you got all this paperwork, come home now. It's like, okay, it's all good. I got something to show you guys. She didn't want to come home empty handed with just this kid.
Yeah, and next chapter, we're getting the Witch Association, the big city, which I'm really excited for. But the general vibe that I got from the conversation she made when she said she was going back is that the witches were excited to meet Ichi, which that's different from what we were predicting earlier. We thought it was gonna be like, ew, a dude.
Unless they're excited to like roast his ass.
That could be fair.
Get over here so that we can have someone to poke fun at. We're kind of bored for some reason.
You have a dick.
Yeah, we're gonna stick needles into you, dummy. Get over here. We need a new guinea pig.
type shit.
But I like that we spent a little time. I feel like this same situation. I'm glad that we're moving into the witch like city now with the next chapter. But I really like I'll enjoy the 3 chapters that we spent. And in other series, I think that this would have been a problem. Like with Red Hood, people complain that like we spent too much time in the initial town and like we only focused on like the main 2 characters. But in this, it's like, yeah, we spent time with the 2 characters, but we also got to see what Ichi was capable of, which we didn't really get to see in Red Hood. We didn't see like him do
Still
much.
They got canceled.
Yeah, it had potential, but like potential doesn't actually matter at the end of the day. Like what you actually do is what matters. You got to show up and show out. You got to come to jump, have your dick out. You can't like say you got dick and you can't. I'll show you dick later. You got to bring the dick when you get there, bro. It's got to be at the door. Fujimoto shows up to work. He drops his dick on the table. He exits out the ventilation shaft into his fucking spaceship and leaves. He comes back whenever the fuck he wants to. You got to come with the dick out when you come to jump, or they're gonna ask you. Potential don't matter.
Come dick first.
Yeah, like dick gotta be first thing through the door because they don't care what you bring in later. Like you need to these just need to be they need to be flying off the shelf right now. And I feel like with this, we at least know that like even though we spent 3 chapters with these 2 characters, we got to know them a lot. And there's a lot of people really like. There's so much fan art about with Discaris already. And Ichi, Ichi's gonna get his moment. Ichi, some people have been saying that they're afraid that like Discaris might be carrying. I don't think that's gonna be a problem.
No.
Yeah.
Ichi's fun. And he's like Discaris isn't going to be, she'll probably be like around a lot, but Ichi's about to meet a whole lot of other characters, and we're going to see his adventure. And
it feels pretty equal to me so far, as far as like both of their like impact on the series at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really understand the whole like Discaris is carrying or stealing the show idea, but
they're both fun characters, and like it's just
evenly spread.
Yeah, and then Red Hood is like, this was a newbie, and they spent a long time. But like in this case, like they spent 3 chapters in the same location, kind of. But like we know they're going somewhere, and we know that like these aren't rookies. Like this author has been, Iruma is constantly outselling, selling off the shelves and in the top 10 or top 50, whatever, all the time. So it's like this. They know what they're doing. They're just setting up, and next week is going to be a banger. We're going to see, the organization and meet new witches and fun characters and shit like that. It's all good.
Yeah.
I had a pretty interesting conversation earlier in a group chat about this chapter with some friends. A buddy of mine introduced the question: do you guys think that there's a cap on how many of these stones you can collect?
So it.
I guess what would be like the vehicle for that mechanically would be like, like in the power system itself, like why would that be a thing? Would be like where your mind kind of goes. But I think I said that it would be tight if there was a situation where like a dense collection of the stones ended up being like poisonous or something's otherwise detrimental to those without like an inherent aptitude for magic, if they like kept like too many of them on their person or something like that at one time, like over time. It made me think of how prolonged exposure to kryptonite ended up giving Lex Luthor cancer type shit. So like if you don't already have like it in you to like use magic, then like keeping like 50 of these stones in your pocket or your backpack or something like that eventually gave you like some kind of like magic cancer or something, and that's what establishes like the cap, like, hey yo Ichi, you can't have too many of these, otherwise you're gonna get fantasy AIDS or whatever, so you need to
Actually, I don't think they need to carry the stones on them. That's just proof that they beat it. The real key is the incantation.
Oh, sure.
Because Ichi did that thing in the first 2 chapters.
With the stones,
but they said that Uroro was like an anomaly in that regard, though.
Yeah.
True.
I feel like a limitation to it could also just be the physicality of it, because you don't want to carry 50 stones in your pocket.
True.
Yeah, I think it would make sense if there is some limit. I really like the Pokemon idea. Like maybe they have to like swap them out in a PC. Like you can't carry 2 lightning spells at a time type shit. But I feel like the fact that Discaris exists kind of I'm still when her being the Abyssal Witch still says to me that her bag is deep. Like maybe because she's the Abyssal Witch, her bag is deep and she has access to more than the normal amount of spells that other people would.
Whereas normally you would only be able to carry like 15 stones in your like little purse or whatever, but because it's like actually like an abyss, like it's like a Felix the Cat bag where you have like an extra dimensional space to carry as many as you want.
She's pulling a
she's like the or she's like the Kakashi,
shit.
where it's like Kakashi pulls up and everybody's like, I've heard of you, copy ninja Kakashi guy with 1,000 techniques. She could be the, we've heard of you, the witch with 1,000,000 spells that, most people could only, chant 20 spells before they run out of magic understanding or whatever. Like maybe there's some sort of function that they just can't learn more or something, and they got to pass spells off to other people. But her bag is just endless. She's known as the person who has the most spells. There is no limit to her for some reason.
So we just got to put up a like, there is opposing forces here. Yato is still on she's the Abyssal Witch because she has a vast amount of magic and spells, but I am still on the train that she's the Abyssal Witch because her magic involves the abyss. Like it's just darkness.
Like on some Dagon Cthulhu
shit.
Yeah,
that's my stance.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. But just going back to like the idea of like having a cap on how many of the stones you can have, I think that could be cool because then that means that like after a certain limit, it means like, oh, you have to get more creative with the combination of spells that you use throughout the course of conflicts and whatnot, and you're not just like, it's less to keep track of. You're not just like, pulling out the stone that you got in chapter 4 in like chapter 400 and being like, oh yeah, you forgot that I had this or whatever, and you just like don't have like literally like umpteen million fucking different magics to keep track of throughout the course of the series. I think that could be a good idea, but they would have to find a way to make that work like mechanically and like a way that made sense so that you're not asking the question like, oh well, why doesn't he just have as many as he could possibly, like have forever throughout the series and just constantly keep acquiring them and only and always use them whenever type shit. So
I don't know if there's
go ahead. Sorry.
All right, so I don't know if there's like a way, I can't visualize it or just think of a way to do it, but I'm really just, like I said, I'm stuck on the Pokemon idea and like the Poke Center and the PC, and it's like, you can only carry 6 Pokemon at a time, and I can really see trials being a thing. So like these other magics, when you go to acquire a magic, they have these trials. I can see, dungeons or magic trials where it's like, in order to defeat me, you can, you have to cut off my head while only, carrying 3 spells with you at a time. So like people who, they bring, somebody who knows 20 spells and they're, they boast about how many spells they can do and stuff. Yeah. They can't defeat this one enemy because they have too many abilities on them. And like, only somebody with who has mastered one ability can beat me type shit. And it's like, oh, well, damn, I know.
Or the reverse, like you can only come into this dungeon and then, if you have 9 gym badges or some shit, you need 9 stones to even,
the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
I think it could take a more natural route. So obviously, I think the party will extend outside of just Ichi and Descatus, and I don't think they're gonna go through all 3,000 plus magics.
Yeah, no.
And so maybe they form like an elite squad where they hunt down the strong magics, and that way they're cherry picking who they're targeting. And there's a squad, so not everyone's going to finish the trial. Only one person's going to get the stone, and that way it's kind of limiting how much they're getting in a much more natural kind of way without the explicit, like, hey, there's a limitation on how many you can hold rule.
Yeah. But I'm also just like a really big fan of like going deep instead
that's
of
fair.
instead of wide, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like in superpowered stories, specifically with these energy systems, like it's always better for me to see what a character can do with like a limited number of things and how creative they can get with them to get out of like a wide variety of different conflicts with like a small number of things versus like just having a thing for any situation, you know what I mean? So
I'm definitely in that same boat. I would like, if there's a limit, I think that'd be cool, and that would do a lot for like power scaling and like the power system conversation stuff. When you start introducing power systems and you get people like, I feel like some of the biggest things to help a series boost itself into like that superstardom is like you got to have the power scalers, you got to have the shippers. Those are the 2 people. If you got people shipping your characters, 2 guys together, 2 girls, 1 guy, 1 girl, whatever, and then you got like the nerds talking about this character's gonna beat Goku, that shit's they're gonna talk about that shit forever.
If they're using mountain level and city level and outer versal terminology, you got a star is born.
You need that, and then you're in there. But I do like, I feel like I don't have a preference, but like when it does come to stories where they introduce something and it's like, hey, there's 3,000 things in this world that we have to defeat, I feel like it makes sense to only realistically see like 17, like 5 of them get real fights. We find out 2 of them got off screened and shit like that, but then like some of the other conflicts are actually with other entities. Like instead of us seeing Ichi fight 3,000 or even 17 of these magics, maybe we see Ichi take down 7, but then Ichi also fights other witches, and then Ichi also conquers dungeons. So it's not just Ichi versus the magics. It's like other types of opposing forces get in his way and stop him from doing magics. Maybe he does get a rival that like beats him, captures the magic before he was able to, and so it's like we don't see him capture 3,000. So even though they say there's this many, we're not going to actually see 3,000. But I want to know what else is going to be in a way, because we haven't seen like any type of actual antagonist. We don't have a big boss. There's no like final boss. So what's going to be in the way. Yeah.
Ichi the Witch tournament arc coming soon.
Oh, I would love a tournament arc in this series. I think
Well,
that
that'll
would
definitely
bang.
happen.
Yeah, we need that. I'm down for it. I like I like how Roro is always, he's just like, this isn't how things should be. He's mad about like them trapping the wolf or Raiko the fox, and he's like, which fights are supposed to be, there's a culture built around this. You gotta set the scene, and it's gotta be, like this crazy atmosphere where the witch is fighting off against this fantastic, magic, and you're doing it all wrong. And Ichi's just like, bro, I don't care. Like that thing sucked. They wanted to kill people. It had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think
Really good chapter.
Yeah, really good chapter. I feel like every chapter is just going to be good.
Yeah, same.
But I don't think I had anything else for this chapter specifically,
Me neither.
though.
Yeah, I'm good.
Y'all good?
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
straight.
All right, well, that'll do it for Ichi the Witch, Chapter 3. Good shit. All right, moving into Astro Royale, Chapter 22, Plant Zero. Weeb, take us in, man.
All right, so not too much happened this chapter. We mainly started off going to the plant that seems to be key to why their brother got arrested by the investigation unit and how it's tied into Shio's whole thing. We got teases that the whole Astro stuff is connected to their family in some way and the research that's done on this plant. Kemba's parents were scientists there, and whatever that weird ball thing that was in the plant has to do with Shio's plans for the future.
Yeah, what was that thing called? Daybreak Ore.
The Daybreak Ore, yeah. It looks
Yeah.
like some shit out of Berserk, yo. Like, isn't there like
Yeah,
an
it looks
egg or
it looks
something
a
like that?
Behelit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Behelit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that shit's cool. I wonder, what the fuck it does, because Shio's like wishes are contained within it, and he could wipe out the city with it. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so this is like the root like mineral of like the asteroids that originally like fell down onto the planet, I'm assuming, and like gave everybody
Perhaps.
powers, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to say how stupid I felt reading. Maybe it was last week's chapter when the cops came into the place and they were like, we have the authority to use brutal force on asteroids, and they were like, asteroids. It's like, yeah, the people who got blessed by the fucking who have Astros. And I was like, bro, why didn't I think? Because at that point, nobody had ever been.
asteroids.
Yeah, nobody had ever been called an asteroid. And I was like, bro, that was cool. Why didn't I think of that ever?
Makes
Like,
so much sense. It's always
Yeah.
hiding in like plain sight. Like these mangaka are like so good at finding those things and like turning them into concepts, and like the naming
Yeah.
conventions always like hit so hard and but also feel so obvious. Like you smack your forehead, like duh.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
like I want to point out Ray Ray's ability, because a lawyer with a ability that allows her to see into the past, that's just
Yeah, it's perfect.
That's
I love that.
perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was talking about that in one of my group chats earlier too. Like literally, like that specific thing. Like it makes so much sense
Yeah.
for her to have an ability like this as a lawyer. Like,
It
holy
makes-
shit, you're the best lawyer in the world.
It makes sense, but it definitely caught me off guard because I was like, wow, this is very convenient. And I just, not that it's bad, it was the first time I felt like something was just like incredibly convenient for the time. And I just wish that maybe somebody kind of hinted at it a little before or something. Like, I mean, in the last chapter, they said she corners all of her opponents and, her law cases or whatever, like a guided missile. And they called her the Blitz Queen. But like,
That's enough.
yeah, but like it just felt very convenient because like they're at this plant, and then the one kid, I forget his name, Karan or whatever, was like, I found the log, and it was like, okay, like it just felt odd for him to like randomly say that unless he knew her ability, like because they didn't
Wait,
say
who,
like
where?
when right before she uses her ability and asks like what was the time and date, the one kid, like they're in there and he's like, I found the log or whatever, and she's like, what's the time and date? And it felt like something that like, if he knew and he was telling her like specifically for her to activate her ability, then that's one thing. But it felt like
No,
he
because
just-
wasn't she saying when we get in here we need to find this thing, and then he was like, "Oh, okay, I found it," and she's like, "Now that
Yeah, I
she
think we
found
just
it,
need
tell
information.
me." Yeah,
Did
she's
she?
like,
yeah.
she's
She
like,
said
"Now
when
that-"
was it?
Well, no, I'm saying like before, like there wasn't anything. They didn't say they were going to go see, why this place was like a big deal, and they were like, looking around, and then the one kid just randomly yells, "I found the log," and then she asked for the time and date, and it just felt like if he knew her ability, and was like purposely looking for the log to relay the information so that he can give her the time and date ahead of time, then that's one thing. But like, if
no, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
it's on page 12. It's on page 12. He's like, hey, Hibaru, the last login to the plant system was really recent. Is that what you're talking about?
Let me see.
It's on page 12.
because she asked for that date next page.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he was just telling Hibaru. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he wasn't telling her, but it's just her ability. Perfect timing. Like he finds the log, he tells Hibaru, and she's like, "Oh, what's the time and date?" Because my ability happens to interact with that exact information that you happen to find. And it felt like there should have just been like one more thing connecting it. Like maybe if he knew, maybe if he told her,
True.
like instead of saying like, "Hey Hibaru," maybe if he was like, "Yo Riri, I found the thing," and she's like, "All right, what's the time?" And then it just felt like there was like one little like notch missing from the belt for me.
I can see that. Yeah, I don't think it's a level of convenience that makes it too bad.
I mean, her occupation makes it feel good. It's fine.
Right, exactly. Like there's a little bit more like considered, going into like the writing beforehand that makes it feel good enough to me. But I can definitely see how that can be kind of like for some people. Yeah.
I think it would have been a much bigger issue if Riri was like a more introduced character like before this. But this was kind of just like her reveal and then her power reveal, which is roughly how the series takes power
it
reveals.
seems so. It felt so normal to me. Yeah, but now that you brought it up, I guess I'm looking at it a little bit differently now.
Yeah, it just to me it felt like we wander into a cave. Oops, there's no light, but don't worry, the guy we just picked up has a fireball quirk that nobody like talked about until now, so he can illuminate the room. And it's just if somebody would have said like he smoked these guys last week, just anything, I feel like it would have felt a little better. But I mean, her being a lawyer and she corners her opponents, it kind of hints at it.
Yeah, plus there is like some dialogue beforehand in the series that Terasu is like smart and tactical and resourceful and whatnot, so it makes sense that he would like be searching for information like this in this like weird, like mysterious, like building that they've never been to before.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's look at the last time, like people fucked around with like the computer system. Like it just makes sense for him to go to a computer system, to look up like information just off of that to me, I guess. And then that conveniently like leading into like her being like, oh shit, you got information like that? Oh, okay, well let me know what that is then, because now I'm about to use my ability to, could like that allows me to like that is the conditions for my ability to like activate or whatever. I think is what I'm trying to say or whatever. So I could definitely see what you're saying though, Yato. Yeah. I just didn't notice it as something that was like, negative at first, I guess.
It's definitely convenient, but I think it's overridden by the flow.
Yeah, and just how early it is in the series too. Like the earlier in the series, like the more you can get away with like conveniences like that. Plus, this seems to be a series where like a lot of powers are going to be like expanded on and applied in like really creative ways. So like you got to get all of this like out of your system like early, because like later on you're not going to be able to get away with it as easily. And I think Wakui has a plan for it in that regard anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
That is if it doesn't get axed, because this is still new, and two, there's like a very weird stigma when it comes to sci-fi shonen manga. They're rarely a thing, especially in the book magazines.
I always talk about these weekly Shonen Jump manga as if they're going to go for like the entirety of like an organic run. Like, because of the history of the axes, like you can always say like, oh, well, if it survives, and it's like we're gonna assume it will for now.
It never really lasts long for most magazines. Most recent one, like Dr. Stone for Shonen Jump, if you want to make that pure sci-fi, which I think it is. And Eden Zero from Weekly Shonen Magazine were pure sci-fi, and those did very well.
Yeah,
I think it'll be fine.
It should be.
I don't think it's necessarily like I've seen a lot of people mention that. I don't think it's the sci-fi aspect. I think it's an author aspect, and it's just because a lot of people have issues with Tokyo Revengers.
Yeah, but Tokyo Revengers, for the most part, it was like 90% good or 80% good. So like, it's like you can't hate on the guy for like falling apart at the end. Like if you enjoyed the story for 80% of its run, you liked the story. You just didn't like how it ended. So you don't have to like bag on them for a new series. Like this could cook, and I mean it's been good. It's had good heartfelt moments. Like I love
unless you're Harold Mashima, people will
dog shit. Anything you create.
That's just, I mean, everybody. It's I mean, they shit on
People
fucking
people
Ken when he
gave
first came
1-star
back.
reviews to the first chapter of his new series before it even released.
The Quince fans did the same thing for Ranger when it came out because they
Really?
didn't like the way the
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
they didn't like how he had best girl lose or whatever. It's the fans are always gonna do that shit. But like,
It wasn't
who the
fans
fuck?
that did it.
Yeah, the fucking losers, whatever. But like,
Yeah.
I think this is gonna stick around. But as far as like the my last thing I'll say about the Rary and her ability thing, it also just doesn't feel bad because like the information that her ability is showing isn't like new unknown information. Like we know that Shio and Satsuki were like looking into this. So like the fact that it revealed that they were there, it's not like some oh my god big reveal. It's not like
Yeah.
they found out. It's not like they found out Jeepers Creepers was there. We didn't unveil a completely new idea, concept, or character. We found out that like these two people that are kind of being dicks right now that we kind of need to beat their heads in were here and they are involved. So it's not. It doesn't feel bad because it's some shit we kind of already knew. We're just learning more into what we already knew.
Right.
Yeah. This section seems to be more of a slowdown from the action-heavy arc we literally just had, which was, I'm not gonna lie, very, very good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that shit was
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
Really great
crazy.
action. Awesome final fight.
Yeah,
But,
that Terrazzo guy or whatever, Terrazzo, he was dope. Fucking threw the fucking car on the roof. I was
Yeah,
screaming.
with the boxing
Yeah.
glove
Yeah.
link or whatever, the
The goat.
MMA glove link. Yeah.
Yeah, very very big fan of the different Astro relics or whatever they have. The one guy had like the grills in his mouth. He was weird.
Yeah,
The
the mouth
boxing
guard.
Mouth guard.
gloves. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool things. But I'm looking forward to the future of this series. I think it's gonna last.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun, especially since we're unwinding the mysteries now in between
Yeah.
arcs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At least starting to.
The one thing I saw people complaining about, it might have just been one person, but they were saying that Kenpa was like a plot device or whatever. She's just very convenient. It doesn't bother me.
Really?
I honestly don't even see that. I think I was
Me
talking to like
either.
Axel and like Skyzade in one of our group chats about that a little bit earlier, and like I guess I can kind of see them like drawing that conclusion because of the fact that she's like, oh, at the end of the chapter, she's like, I think I know what's going on here because both of my parents were, researchers here at Plant Zero, and it's like,
And she's been
oh,
here before.
how convenient that your real parents were scientists and you'll be able to give us information about what we're here for or whatever. But I mean, like that's in keeping with like the
Shonen
kind
in
of
general.
well, just like the theme like throughout the series that like all of these characters have like multiple sets of parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So it's like okay, so it's not surprising that Buddy who can heal people with like the leech Astro like isn't her real dad. Like that wasn't shocking. I was like, oh, okay, there's another character whose parent isn't actually their parent, or whatever. So
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
yeah, there's,
And,
there's,
I
a
mean,
lot,
you
there's a little
gotta-
bit more setup than you usually see in like the things that we normally criticize for being plot devices.
And it gives more to her character. We could see like that trauma resurface and shit later or whatever.
Yeah, her writing is on the way.
Yeah, I like her character. I didn't mind her popping up in
It's
that like
fun.
mansion and shit either.
Yeah, we were talking.
The characters
we were talking about
overall
that,
are
too.
pretty fun. I don't dislike any of them.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
And Hibari's growing on me. Not that he was bad, but he was definitely more of a generic happy-go-lucky, we can do it, save everybody even if it hurts me character. But I mean, he's still that, but like I don't know, just over time it grew. Like when he went back and found a 4-leaf clover for Nono, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm locked in.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue with him was just at first how one-tracked his power kind of seemed. Like he just punched
Yeah.
hard. But when they delved into, like it's more functioning like a pistol, like he uses different parts of it to enhance it.
Yeah,
It's still pretty straightforward, but it added
Yeah.
a bit of depth to it, which I appreciated.
yeah. I think over time we're going to see because like these kids are and just these characters in general. Like this is a brand new power for everybody involved. You know what I mean? Like everyone has only had these powers for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of writing dedicated to them experimenting with their powers and seeing exactly what they can do. Like what's the fox-tailed like shapeshifter dude's name? Kurano?
I thought it was
Yeah.
Karan.
Yeah, Kuran, yeah. Like every time he transforms into something new, they're like, dude, you can do that? And he's like, I guess, I'm just trying out different shit. You know what I
Yeah, he
mean?
turned
And
into like a tiger.
yeah, and like that's just cool
A
that there's like
glider.
writing dedicated to them, like, trying to unlock their, understanding of their abilities and apply them, in different kinds of conflicts and not just like, fireball, big punch,
Yeah.
lightning zap, you know what I mean? And even with a lot of the more simpler abilities in the series, like we're already seeing like really cool creative applications of them outside of what was initially established for them too. So it's like it feels like Ken Wakui has like a real plan for what's going on here, and he has like the identity kind of figured out, and it's just going to take time for him to thoroughly and properly present that to us. And I hope it sticks
Yeah.
around just so I can see what later level fights look like and see just how much game theory is like involved in the conflicts, and exactly how many dots need to be connected before conflicts can be resolved, even with like a lot of the more simpler powers, because that's really like what I come for in these like shonen, super powered stories is, the strategic like outplay, like forward thinking elements of all of it, and
Yeah.
what it can
Yeah.
do that you didn't think that they could originally do before and whatnot. So
It's definitely really good that they had this character like showcasing that he can, he's trying out different things in the field versus like you having a training arc where you see a character not do like a certain thing, and then when they pop up, it's like, oh yeah, I'm back in the battle now. I never showed this move before, but I trained for 2 months and now I can spirit bomb. It's cool to
Yeah.
like see him like trying shit out in the field, and that like, yeah, he doesn't fully know what he can do, and he's just kind of winging it.
Right.
Now that you like what you said, Knox, uh, it actually kind of made me think of Urameshi. So spirit
Yu
gun,
Yu
spirit
Hakusho, yeah.
shotgun,
Yeah.
and so the bullet, is it something that can take form? Like, is he going to get a Gatlin punch? Is he going to get like a shell punch? And I can see it kind of develop into a more creative thing where it's just imitating different types of guns for his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be dope, dude.
machine gun pistol arm. I can definitely see that on some Luffy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, type shit. That would be Scotch, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't immediately like I recognized her ability as Moody Blues, but I did not think about Moody Blues at the moment until everybody else said it. I was like, oh well duh, yeah, Moody Blues.
Yeah.
It was very much like a JoJo stand.
Yeah, so I'm like, I haven't really done JoJo's yet. Like, how was that like ability introduced into the series? Was it plot devicey like this,
Pretty-
or was it handled?
Pretty much.
Pretty much the same. The
Okay.
the main character joined a gang, and that gang was already full of ability users who knew each other's abilities, but like everyone kind of keeps their shit secret. So like they were trying to find an assassin, and he was like staying back, and he like punched a tape recorder and rewound time to see like what happened around that like area in the last like 2 hours and found the assassins or whatever. So it was very much
Okay.
this. You didn't know his ability, but later you find out that he was a cop or whatever, and like down on his luck, bad shit happened. He got into a dirty deal. I don't remember the specifics, but similar to her.
Was there enough setup for it to where it didn't feel as like convenient or whatever, like as this did in this chapter?
It felt convenient, I want to say, but it was also a long time ago. But JoJo's is also like kind of goofy, so they really get away with anything.
Yeah,
And JoJo's, not saying it's
'Cause
bad,
it's a
but like
bizarre adventure.
yeah,
Like, you
JoJo's
see-
the type of series where somebody will slip on the banana peel mid-fight and like reach for like a ladder, not get their footing, pull the ladder down, and it'll slam on the other guy's head and break their neck or something, and that'll be like how I do to win a fight. That's the type of shit you see in JoJo. So it's like I can't take it too serious.
You didn't know I ripped my pinky toenail off last Tuesday and set a trap that's gonna make you fall into this hole. And boo, 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 boo.
Yeah.
If you see a character with some goofy design, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pull something out of their ass.
Oh, for sure.
That's the bizarre aspect, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why I won't read that garbage. Anyway, how are we feeling? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, do we have anything else for Astro this week? Anybody?
Nothing from
I think
me.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good
straight.
too. Excited to see where it goes, though. Like, I'm having a
Me
lot
too.
of fun with the series. I just recently caught up, like, yesterday or today or something like that. And I'm excited to see what we got for us. But
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for Astro Royale Chapter 22. All right, moving into the final chapter review in the weekly Shonen Jump segment for our very first episode. We have Kagurabachi, chapter 50, Interception. Yato, man, take us in.
Yeah, man, Kagurabachi, Big Banger Bachi. I love this chapter. Like we start on the train and we get like the flashbacks and stuff, and as usual, Chihiro's dad. There's the whole like, you're a true hero, and he's like, everybody else is the hero. I'm just the guy. I love that, and I can't wait for us to eventually move into a Rokuhira backstory, hidden inventory type
Yes.
arc.
Oh, yeah.
But more than that, I really love this other swordsman. This I forget his name, Samura. Yeah, the blind swordsman. That's always a big thing. Everybody always gets fucking tight in the pants when a blind swordsman character is introduced. And there's
Definitely
always
me. I'm tight in the pants right now.
tight in the
God.
pants. Yeah, but there's I like how he has a very different quirk. I haven't seen this one. It might have been introduced before, but the blind swordsmen I feel like are usually like either like drunks, pervs, or like super serious and quiet or cold or whatever. But this guy, he's like straight gripping your face, and he's like, "Come here, baby, let me get a look at you." He's just
Let me get a sniff.
palming the head, like, "Oh, you got a good face on you," type shit. I like that. It's a fun. Normally I feel like more times than not, the blind swordsman guy isn't like jolly or whatever. He's more like a serious type. Like, I lost my eyes to the war. All I know is pain. These eyes can't see the light anymore, but they can see blood. Shit like that.
Yeah,
but like
very
this dude's
like Zatoichi,
Yeah.
Kurosawa type shit.
this guy. He's the first thing he does is grab Hakuri's face. It's like, "Hey, Chihiro, there you go, man. It's been a while," or whatever. It's like, it's funny to see this, for the blind swordsman archetype.
I
I also
something
like
I
how he
saw.
was the only one.
Oh.
I was like, I was the only one that knew about Chihiro being a thing, just out of sheer coincidence.
Yeah.
That he
Right.
Yeah, that was.
He's like,
that
I
was funny.
smelt you. But one thing I saw that I thought was really funny is the fact that his name is Samura, and it's samurai without the eye because
Bro,
he's
I
blind.
hate, bro. This is what I've been saying all night, bro. How have I not been noticing this shit, bro?
Damn, dude.
That was the first thing I noticed when I read it. I read it as
Bro.
samurai at first.
Good
This-
spot.
I'm about to put a blanket over my head and slide down the stairs. Bro, how?
I'm right behind you, too.
The
'cause I'm
puns.
mad as hell. Yeah.
Bro. Mr. Samurai is crazy, bro.
Mr. Bushido from One Piece, Zoro's little nickname that Toshigi has for him.
Yeah.
Bro, this is unforgivable. I need to die. I need to do deeper dives, bro.
Unforgivable.
I feel like trash, bro. How?
That's what this like atmosphere. That's what this discussion space is for, though.
Yeah.
For, like, one person to pick up on something that the rest didn't and spark a conversation around.
That's what we do it for, man. Because I can't be the only idiot. If you are an idiot sandwich, you also didn't pick up on Mr. Samurai. Comment below. I need it. I need to know I'm not alone, bro. Please don't let me be alone.
Yeah, don't let us be alone because I was with you, bro. But we need more. We need more.
Yeah,
people who
we
get
need more
those.
idiots.
Yeah.
So that was crazy though, man. But fucking magic marker sorcery, I'm down with it.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah.
it.
We also
Put out
officially
a-
got ourselves a time limit now.
Did we?
For-
I
Yeah,
remember-
Yeah,
for,
30
for
minutes.
Hikaru's ability to come back.
For Hakuri's ability
Oh
to come
yeah.
back.
Okay. Yeah.
I can see it now. They're going to be overwhelmed, and at the very last second, he brings their enchanted blade.
Yeah.
He's gonna be crazy.
But it's gotta be a little bit more like dramatic than that too, because that seems like a little bit like too safe for the stakes that are kind of like being like built up, right? Like
I
somebody,
see that one of them
Well-
dies.
yeah, maybe even because how many swords are left even? Because he has N10, they got
4.
Cloud Gouger out of here, and they have the Shinuchi. So
There's 4.
There's 4 left. So I was gonna say maybe even like 2 of them die, so that like even though they're like kind of like successful, there's still like conflict later to be had with the Hishaku members that now have
Yeah.
access to like 2 whole. Because like
So-
if they only get one. If they only get one sword and then they save like the rest or whatever, like is that even like scary enough for like a future conflict? But like them having 2 would definitely raise the stakes higher, but then that's half and half, and like how does that feel? It's like really interesting to see like how it'll go down, but I definitely don't think that they get off scot-free with a last minute Hakuri switch, and then
Yeah.
like, oh, they're thwarted, yeah, type shit.
So you were thinking about like overall, but when you were like, how, like, where's the conflict going to come? The first thing I imagine is like when, like, you know, they're defending and holding the bad guys off while Hakuri is being healed, and like the thing I was thinking was like the situation is going to get hairy to the point where like Hakuri is like in danger and someone's charging him or whatever, and he's porting people away, but right as he like goes to like teleport somebody into his like mental storage unit, they get like slashed in half, and like maybe Mr. Samura's top half of his body gets transported and the lower half stays out because he got cut in half right as he's being like teleported away or something.
Oh,
So like
shit.
somebody dies, but like it's like
Yeah.
traumatizing because like his upper body just falls on the floor inside the storage or something.
Or maybe
I
they run up
see.
on that. Maybe they run up on the healer before like they're able to like bring Hakuri's like, you know, ability like back to be used in like a safe way. And now
Yeah.
That's
he
also
needs to
possible.
he needs to use the ability like before his body is ready, and ends up like taking like mortal damage from like just trying to accomplish the mission, and maybe Hakuri dies. That would be crazy.
Oh man.
I think one of the biggest, you know, like conflicts that could come from this is the fact that Hakuri is being defended by the two sword bearers, which means that once he's healed, he still has to make contact with them to form a contract to even get the swords. So he'll be down someone defending him while he's getting that done.
Yeah,
It
because how
is-
long does that take to make the contract? Doesn't he just have to like?
I think he
Doesn't
just
just-
has to bring them into the space.
Or like I think he's got to like touch him with his energy or something because
Yeah.
like
Yeah, he's gotta
Chihiro
put
was
his
doing
energy
that.
into it.
Yeah, Chihiro was kind of like infusing everybody with his cursed energy or whatever, and then he was just able to like trace that and teleport everything with Chihiro's like dirty scent on it or whatever. But it is interesting that like we go from, you know, defending these swordsmen to now like the swordsmen that we're defending have to defend, you know, us, and it's an interesting little twist. But yeah, I can definitely see like the restoration getting cut in half, and Hakuri is like rolling on the floor trying not to get cut and like trying to like teleport people away or whatever, and shit's getting hairy. He maybe gets slashed. I don't see him dying. I feel like he's gonna be in the story for a long time.
Yeah.
If he dies, like I hope it ain't no time soon. Like maybe like, you know, I got to see him get a couple of dubs first, man.
Definitely.
This other guy though, the fucking antagonist that Chihiro's dealing with, this dude's kind of swole, kind of big deal with these paper cranes he's been flinging through people.
Yeah, he's out here doing shit for real.
Yeah, he felt like watching him in the last chapter when he was like at the soda machine getting a drink or whatever. It felt like I was watching a movie, like some like Tarantino film or some shit.
Low key.
It felt
There is
it
like
was
kind of like a movie quality, like cinematic feel to like the art direction in this manga, pretty much at all times. I want to say.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a banger, and the antagonist so far, like every antagonist that's been introduced, has been very very cool, charismatic. They might not start off the greatest. Like people, I don't think we're a big fan of Kiora, but like clearly Kiora became a major
Given time,
deal.
you
His
get
writing
more
ended
depth
up being
in characterization.
his writing ended up being fucking insane by the end of that arc, dude.
Yeah, and it's like this
I
dude,
can't wait.
he might not get as big of a impact as Kiora or like Sojo, but I think he's gonna get fleshed out. I don't think they're gonna defeat him in the first run either. I mean, none of the antagonists so far have been beat on their first encounter. Like Kiora was like they bounced, and Sojo they had like 3 fights. So looking forward to seeing how they deal with this dude. But yeah, two real swordsmen, man. This one swordsman guy is super cool. Not the blind one. I mean, he's cool obviously because he's just blind. But the other one, charismatic, funny guy. He reminds me of Usui from Demon Slayer, like flamboyant,
Oh yeah.
muscular character. That's what I thought of when I saw him.
Yeah, very loud, boisterous, big facial expressions, like very open in your face. But then like when it's serious, like he plays that role like really well too, and he's like badass like in serious moments and shit. I love like that kind of like character that can flip that switch on and off like whenever.
Yeah, and like when they first ever like kind of hinted, showed his like silhouette or whatever, he's like throwing up the peace signs with his like straw hat on. It's like, all right, this guy's cool, man.
Yeah, cool factor is definitely like never an issue in this series. It feels like Hokuzono's definitely got like the raw tax like figured out for his verse.
He studied that shit. Yeah, he is a student of the cool, of the swag.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I don't know. Like for some reason, I just got this feeling like the plan is like going like too well. Like I know that
There's gonna be
what's
a
the
heel turn soon.
what's the sword? What's the swordsman with the with like the that we were literally just talking about with like the eyeliner and the fucking
Uruha?
Uraha. It's literally on the page in front of me right now. I know Uraha like lost like his people or whatever, like his bodyguards, and like they died, and that was like a big point of like loss and like stakes or whatever. But like outside of that, like everything feels like it's just going like a little bit too smooth. So like I know that like and it seems like Chihiro's kind of like got like this fight against this one antagonist like kind of in the bag.
At least
You
for
know what
now.
I mean, too. Yeah, like at least for
Yeah.
now. I'm wondering what's going to be introduced that like kind of like flips the script on, you know, the current dynamic and like ups the tension and like, you know, because eventually it's going to have to get to a point where we're like biting nails and kind of on the edge of our seat, like will they make it, will they not? And I wonder what like elements going to be introduced for that, because we kind of like already have a pretty good idea of like all of the elements in play on the antagonist side so far, and it doesn't look like they're making like too much like progress, like, you know, towards actually accomplishing their goal. But I
Yeah.
know that they eventually do have to get closer to winning in order for us to feel something here. So I wonder exactly how that's going to take shape in the
Yeah.
coming chapters.
It's an attack on two fronts: Chihiro versus dude, and then like Mr. Samurai versus like everybody else that's like trying to get Hakuri and shit. So it's like which of our two, you know, good guy forces is gonna take a little bit of an L. It's like
Hmm.
I don't feel like the samurai dude should lose or come close to losing so soon, because he's just, you know, first time introduced, but
Yeah.
also, you know,
He's got to whoop butt for a
yeah.
little bit. He's got to put
Yeah.
belt to ass like at least once before.
there's gotta be some cheating or something, because I also just can't see Chihiro just like losing, you know, his first, you know, he's had his back and forths, he's had his, you know, good fights and his you know, not so spectacular fights or whatever. He doesn't like come out of every fight, you know, clean and stainless. So like I don't think he's gonna like lose another arm here or anything, but like this dude's, you know, tough. He's strong, he's got the shit. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where the little L comes from, or maybe it's just like, you know, we had a third plan that you guys didn't know about.
Yeah, maybe it's a series
Yeah.
of major L's back to back that come out of nowhere because of some shit that Hishaku like had, like, you know, waiting on a timer in case, like, you know, the protagonist like, you know, defended adequately up to a certain point, and then it's like holy shit suddenly on like all fronts, and then they just barely make it out with the skin of their teeth. I think that could be insane too.
Or
That would
maybe
definitely be
they
a massive
just
heel turn for the story.
or maybe they just all make it out pretty easily, but in that situation, these are the only two sword bearers who survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
That way,
Um,
the opposing forces also get access to swords.
Right. I think that has to happen. I think that they have to, because that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Like what would feel the best? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we know the protagonists don't just outright lose and the story is over and they fucking take over the world with all of the fucking swords and shit. Like, you know what I mean? So but it's like if they save too many of them and leave the antagonists with like only one sword, then it's like how scary our future conflict's going to be when, you know, we have like so much on our side and the Hishaku only have like one thing.
Yeah.
I think that's why they keep introducing characters, you know, not keep, but like we have introduced characters like was it Hiyuki, and now this guy who like they're saying like they can fight on equal footing to
right,
you know
right.
a user of one of the swords. So it's like when they come in, it's like, oh shit, you know, we gotta kind of be careful because this dude doesn't have a, you know, a weapon. He's just kind of like fucking with these paper cranes, and he's got these cronies or whatever that he's just disposing of, and it's like
Yeah, and
that's
they have those sacred sword like level like one-time use like
Yeah.
weapon like artifact things that I like completely forgot about until right now. But like that's already like been like a factor and came into play already. So
yeah.
yeah, like I doubt that they're just gonna be like, haha, throw these guys at you and use that same, you know, concept that you kind of already dealt with like a couple chapters ago and it wasn't all that detrimental to you.
Yeah, I think their research is going to go a bit further though. Like Sojo was
Yeah.
working on the like Dachinseki shit to develop more weapons. So like Right now, I think they just got like the first, tier of that shit. But they'll probably find another guy who's able to refine that element, like Chihiro's dad was, and they'll start maybe making some real weapons out of them or something.
Oh shit! Like a
the
evil version of Rokuhira on the
yeah,
fucking Hishaku side that just needed enough Datenseki to like make his own like version of these evil swords. So maybe they fucking save all of them, and they're like, "Holy shit, we did it!" The Hishaku has nothing now, and they're like, "Actually, we have." Because that reminds me of fuck, dude. That reminds me of Inuyasha now. Do you remember Totosai was like the swordsmith on the good side, and then I can't remember the evil swordsmith that made like Tokijin and the other like swords that Sashomaru like would eventually like end up using or whatever. But there were two rival swordsmiths that like made swords in that series. That if I'm remembering correctly in Inuyasha. Damn, it's been forever. I might have to spin the block on that. But yeah, I don't know why I never thought of that before. Maybe there's like evil Rokuhira somewhere on the Hishaku side that was just waiting for enough Datenseki. That would be fucking insane.
Either that or just like some like very like capable swordsmith who like is being threatened, like, yeah, we got your family, you need to make these swords for us or we'll kill them all.
Oh,
It's like,
sure.
now we got to save this like blacksmith who has
exactly.
he's created a bunch of these weapons of mass destruction, but he doesn't want to, and we got to save him. But like we go through his trauma, and he knows that he's delivered people their deaths by the hundreds.
Yeah. Damn. Okay, now I'm like even more excited to see where the fuck this shit goes. 'Cause I feel like I kind of like need that now.
Every chapter's giving us something really cool to look forward to.
Nah, for real though, for real.
I'm excited.
Dude, me too. Do y'all have anything else for this Kagurabachi chapter?
No, I think I'm
Not
good
for
for
me.
now.
Yeah,
You guys good? Yeah,
it was a
you
chill
good?
chapter. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
next week's gonna be a bit of a banger and more to talk about. But cool characters, cool shit.
Definitely. Next chapter is for sure gonna be a bus popper. But all right, I think that'll do it for Kagurabachi chapter 50. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in to our very first official episode of Shonen Pulse. You know where to follow us on all of our socials as they're on the screen for anyone watching on YouTube. For anyone who's audio only, you can find our handles for our YouTube channels and our Twitter accounts and whatnot in the description section. If you watch the whole entire episode and you enjoyed what you listened to or watched tonight, make sure you leave a like on the video, and make sure you hit subscribe, and make sure you turn on notifications so that you never miss an update. But with all that said, I think that'll do it for Shonen Pulse episode 1, and we will catch y'all next time.